Chapter 3450. Ling Xiao returned to the Yi clan and began to cultivate in seclusion. The eternal fire essence he had obtained at the Heavenly Tao auction was extremely important to the world tree in his primordial spirit. After the world tree devoured the eternal fire essence, it grew even faster. Through the world tree, Ling Xiao could vaguely sense that he could communicate with the eternal Heavenly Tao's Heavenly Tao of fire. This allowed his comprehension of the Heavenly Tao of fire to advance by leaps and bounds. The entire Fortune Immortal City was in an uproar because of Ling Xiao's name. After all, the origin Heavenly Tao steel was famous throughout the eternal immortal domains. Those who could ascend to the origin Heavenly Tao steel were all peerless geniuses. Who would have thought that not only would Ling Xiao ascend to the origin Heavenly Tao steel, but he would also surpass the top 10 geniuses to ascend to first place. This meant that even the eternal Heavenly Tao recognized Ling Xiao as the #1 immortal king. What kind of glory was this? Moreover, the news seemed to have grown wings. Not only did it spread throughout the Fortune Immortal City, but it also spread throughout the eternal immortal domains. It wasn't hard to imagine that it wouldn't be long before Ling Xiao's name would be known throughout the eternal immortal domains. Crown Prince Li Wuji and the Green Cloud Quasi-Immortal Emperor were extremely happy about this. This was especially true for the Green Cloud Quasi-Immortal Emperor. He knew that Ling Xiao was strong and talented. However, he had never imagined that Ling Xiao's talent and potential would be so great that he would be able to ascend to first place on the origin Heavenly Tao steel. This was something that had never happened before. In his excitement, he even told Crown Prince Li Wuji to befriend Ling Xiao. Not only was Ling Xiao the reason Crown Prince Li Wuji could become the Emperor Lord of the Fortune Immortal Court, but he might also be the key to restoring the glory of the Fortune Immortal Court. Under the orders of the Green Cloud Quasi-Immortal Emperor and Crown Prince Li Wuji, all kinds of precious resources, including the treasures in the treasury of the Fortune Immortal Court, were sent to the Yi clan and Ling Xiao's secluded cultivation place. Ling Xiao naturally understood the reason for this, so he accepted it all with a smile. Just like that, a month after Ling Xiao entered seclusion, Crown Prince Li Wuji personally came to the Yi clan to tell Ling Xiao that the Heavenly Tao Ancient Battlefield was about to open. Senior Ling Xiao, the Heavenly Tao Ancient Battlefield will open in 3 days. The location will be at Quokang Mountain in the Fortune Immortal Court's territory. Crown Prince Li Wuji said respectfully. According to his introduction, Ling Xiao had an extremely deep understanding of the heavenly ancient battlefield. As it turned out, the Heaven Tao Ancient Battlefield was actually a spatial passageway between the eternal immortal domains and the creatures of darkness. There were many such spatial passageways in the eternal immortal domains. However, because of the magical laws of the eternal immortal domains, the spatial passageways didn't appear in fixed locations. This time, he appeared in the Quokang Mountain in the Creation Celestial Court. Quokang Mountain was an ancient immortal mountain that was 3 million meters tall. It was majestic, ancient, and mysterious. The Celestial Court of Fortune, the Celestial Court of Truth, and the Great Yen Celestial Court would be the foundation for the opening of the Heavenly Tao Ancient Battlefield. In addition to the 3 great celestial courts, many everlasting families, imperishable sects, and sacred lands would also be participating. The Heavenly Tao Ancient Battlefield wasn't just a battleground between the human domain and the creatures of darkness. It was also a training ground that contained countless opportunities and fortunes. Therefore, the various great factions treated the Heavenly Tao Ancient Battlefield as a training ground for their disciples. They also hoped to obtain treasures or the legacies of experts. Of the 3 great celestial courts, only the Great Yen Celestial Court remained neutral. The Creation Celestial Court and the Celestial Court of Truth were mortal enemies. Every time they heard about the opening of the Heavenly Tao Ancient Battlefield, they would bet against each other. The loser would lose a great deal of territory. Over the years, the Creation Celestial Court had lost several hundred precept domains to the Celestial Court of Truth. Therefore, the Creation Celestial Court attached great importance to the Heavenly Tao Ancient Battlefield. That was why the Green Cloud Quasi-Immortal Emperor had asked Ling Xiao to come here. The Heavenly Tao Ancient Battlefield was only accessible to those below the level of a Quasi-Immortal Emperor. However, whether it was the creatures of darkness or the experts of the human domain, it wouldn't be a problem for them to break through to the quasi-immortal Emperor realm after entering the heavenly Tao ancient battlefield. Therefore, the bet between the creation celestial court and the celestial court of truth was based on the number of dark quasi-immortal emperors they could kill. Senior Ling Xiao, the heavenly Tao ancient battlefield will open for 10 years. After we enter the heavenly Tao ancient battlefield, I will lead my subordinates to help Senior Ling Xiao find the eternal fruit as soon as possible and help Senior Ling Xiao to break through to the quasi-immortal Emperor realm. At that time, with Senior Ling Xiao's combat strength, you will definitely be able to defeat everyone. Crown Prince Li Wuji said excitedly. He was full of confidence in Ling Xiao. He believed that with Ling Xiao's participation, the Immortal Court of Creation would definitely win the bet between the Immortal Court of Truth and the Immortal Court of Creation. Sure. Your Highness, if you have any detailed information about the Heavenly Tao ancient battlefield, you can give me a copy for my reference. Ling Xiao said indifferently. Senior Ling Xiao, don't worry. I have already prepared everything. Crown Prince Li Wuji smiled and handed a jade slip to Ling Xiao. Ling Xiao accepted the jade slip and made an appointment with Crown Prince Li Wuji to head to the Quokang Mountain 3 days later. 3 days passed in the blink of an eye. Above the Fortune Immortal City, an ancient void treasure ship was floating in the 9 heavens. At the same time, immortal beasts were flying in the sky and war chariots were lined up. There were powerful figures waiting to set off. Among them, there were 2 figures with terrifying auras that exuded the majestic might of the heavenly Tao. One of them looked elegant while the other looked sinister. They were the Green Cloud Quasi-Immortal Emperor and the 9 Quasi-Immortal Emperor. The 2 of them were also the leaders of the Creation Celestial Court this time. Behind them were the immortal kings of the Creation Celestial Court. Other than that, there were also the geniuses of the Great Wall families, imperishable sects, and holy lands. They were at least early immortal kings. At a rough glance, there were more than 10,000 people. That was 10,000 immortal kings. After Ling Xiao arrived, he immediately attracted the attention of everyone. Everyone's eyes fell on him. After all, during this period of time, Ling Xiao's name had spread throughout the Creation Celestial Court. Countless geniuses were very curious about Ling Xiao. Ling Xiao also noticed that Crown Prince Li Wuji, Second Prince Li Wushuang, Prince Long Di, True Phoenix Maiden, and even the little princess of the Radiant Celestial Court, Di Hongluan, were all present. After Ling Xiao arrived, Crown Prince Li Wuji immediately led him to his war chariot respectfully. The second prince, Li Wushuang, looked at Li Wuji with eyes full of jealousy. He was very jealous of Li Wuji for being able to recruit such a genius like Ling Xiao. Although the opening of the Heavenly Tao ancient battlefield was a bet between the Creation Celestial Court and the Truth Celestial Court, it was also a bet between him and Crown Prince Li Wuji. After this Heavenly Tao ancient battlefield, the Creation Celestial Court's emperor would be decided. With Ling Xiao on Crown Prince Li Wuji's side, Li Wushuang couldn't help but worry. Don't worry, Second Prince. After we enter the Heavenly Tao ancient battlefield, we will be able to quickly break through to the Immortal Emperor realm. At that time, we will definitely help Second Prince to kill the Dark Immortal Emperor. Although Ling Xiao is very talented, he might not be stronger than us when facing the dark creatures. Prince Long Di and True Phoenix Maiden looked at each other and said slowly to the Second Prince, "Let's go." As soon as the Green Cloud Quasi-Immortal Emperor gave the order, the Void Treasure ships, various war chariots, and powerful immortal beasts rose into the sky and flew towards Quokang Mountain. Chapter 3451. Quokang Mountain towered into the clouds. Smoke drifted in the air as propitious vapors rose. This was an incomparably ancient immortal mountain. Rumor had it that it could be traced back to the previous chaos epoch. The mountain was over 1,000,000 feet tall, and it pierced through the heavens like a divine sword, exuding an ancient and majestic aura. There were all kinds of powerful immortal beasts and treasures in the Quokang Mountain. Before the opening of the Heavenly Tao ancient battlefield, many experts from the Fortune Celestial Court would come to Broad Sky Mountain to train, hunt immortal beasts, and search for treasures. Today, lightning surged in the sky above Kwokang Mountain. The atmosphere was extremely oppressive. Bolts of lightning that were as thick as mountains interweaved with each other, emitting an extremely terrifying destructive aura. In the center of the endless thunderbolts, there was a faint black demonic light that emitted an aura that made one's heart palpitate. Vaguely, the space there seemed to shatter, leading to an ancient and mysterious world. It was the Heavenly Tao ancient battlefield. When quasi-immortal Emperor Qing Yun and quasi-immortal Emperor Nine Yin led the people from Creation Immortal Court to Broad Sky Mountain, the people from Truth Immortal Court and Great Yen Immortal Court had also arrived. Every immortal court had 2 quasi-immortal emperors leading them. The auras of the 6 quasi-immortal emperors intertwined with each other, emitting fluctuations that caused the heavens and earth to tremble. The Fortune Immortal Court had sent out over 10,000 immortal kings. As for the Great Yen Immortal Court, their forces were the weakest. Vaguely, they seemed to only have 5,000 immortal kings. As for the Truth Immortal Court, their forces were the most powerful. They had mobilized close to 20,000 immortal kings. From this, one could see the gap between the 3 immortal courts. Quasi-immortal Emperor Lei Shen, quasi-immortal Emperor Guangshi, have you obtained the Truth Emperor's authorization for the opening of the Heavenly Tao ancient battlefield? The quasi-immortal Emperor from the Green Cloud Immortal Court calmly spoke. He seemed to recognize the 2 quasi-immortal emperors from the Truth Immortal Court. Of the 2 quasi-immortal emperors from the Truth Immortal Court, one of them was surrounded by lightning and looked like a god of thunder. His aura was violent and tyrannical. One of them was dressed in a red robe, his hair fluttering in the wind. He looked dignified and domineering. These 2 people were quasi-immortal Emperor Lei Shen and quasi-immortal Emperor Guangshi. Their auras were extremely powerful, even stronger than quasi-immortal Emperor Qing Yun and quasi-immortal Emperor Nine Yin. Naturally, I've already obtained the authorization. My lord has decided to bet 500 Tao domains with your Creation Immortal Court in this bet. I wonder if your Creation Immortal Court dares to bet or not. If you don't dare, we can do what we did in the past and bet 200 Tao domains. Quasi-immortal Emperor Lei Shen sneered. 500 precept domains. Quasi-immortal Emperor Qing Yun and quasi-immortal Emperor Nine Yin couldn't help but frown. After all, the Creation Immortal Court only had 800 Tao territories left now. If he lost this time, he would only be left with 300 Tao domains. At that time, they would be even weaker than some of the imperishable sections. If that happened, the Immortal Court of Fortune would become the laughingstock of the eternal immortal domains. However, the Green Cloud Quasi-Immortal Emperor glanced at Ling Xiao and said indifferently, "Isn't it just 500 Tao domains? My Creation Immortal Court can afford to gamble. However, if your Truth Immortal Court loses this time, you'll really cough up blood." Naturally, the Green Cloud Quasi-Immortal Emperor had obtained the authorization of the Creation Emperor Master. Although 500 Tao domains was a bit much, he still had the right to make the decision. The Nine Yin Quasi-Immortal Emperor frowned slightly. Although he and the Green Cloud Quasi-Immortal Emperor were not on good terms, he didn't say anything in the face of a great enemy. "Good, Green Cloud Quasi-Immortal Emperor, I didn't expect your Creation Immortal Court to be so bold. However, my Truth Immortal Court will definitely take these 500 Tao domains." Quasi-Immortal Emperor Lei Shen sneered. The reason why they dared to bet 500 Tao domains was because they had something to rely on. Moreover, Quasi-Immortal Emperor Lei Shen believed that the Truth Immortal Court would definitely win this time. "Where's Ling Xiao?" At this moment, Quasi-Immortal Emperor Guangshi's eyes flashed coldly. His killing intent was incomparably cold as he roared and locked his gaze on Ling Xiao. Quasi-Immortal Emperor Guangshi, what do you mean by this? Quasi-Immortal Emperor Qing Yun's terrifying aura rose and instantly blocked Quasi-Immortal Emperor Guangshi's path. His eyes were incomparably cold, showing no signs of weakness. Quasi-Immortal Emperor Qing Yun, Ling Xiao is a wanted criminal of my Truth Immortal Court. He has killed countless experts of my Truth Immortal Court. Please hand him over to me. Quasi-Immortal Emperor Guangshi said coldly. At this moment, Ling Xiao also noticed Quasi-Immortal Emperor Guangshi. He also knew that the quasi-immortal emperor's dharma body that he had killed was closely related to quasi-immortal Emperor Guangshi. Impossible. Ling Xiao is a member of my creation immortal court. If you want to kill him, you're making an enemy of my creation immortal court. Quasi-immortal Emperor Qin Yun sneered and said with a tough attitude. Making an enemy of your creation immortal court? Are you worthy? Quasi-immortal Emperor Qin Yun, don't refuse a toast only to be forced to drink a forfeit. If you don't hand Ling Xiao over, I'm afraid all of you so-called young geniuses will fall in this heavenly ancient battlefield. Quasi-immortal Emperor Guangshi sneered. His eyes were filled with incomparably cold killing intent. He actually threatened Ling Xiao. His words caused the expressions of many young experts of the Fortune Celestial Court to change. Arrogant. Then let's fight in the heavenly ancient battlefield. Quasi-immortal Emperor Qin Yun said coldly. Quasi-immortal Emperor Guangshi glanced at Ling Xiao coldly and said, Little thief, I'll let you live for a few more days. However, even if you enter the heavenly ancient battlefield, you'll definitely die. Obviously, quasi-immortal Emperor Guangshi did not want to have a conflict with quasi-immortal Emperor Qin Yun at this moment. Since Ling Xiao would enter the heavenly ancient battlefield, he did not immediately make things difficult for Ling Xiao. After all, he also believed that Ling Xiao would definitely die if he entered the heavenly ancient battlefield. Is that so? Maybe I'll kill everyone in your truth immortal court and then come out to kill you. Ling Xiao said indifferently and looked coldly at quasi-immortal Emperor Guangshi. His voice was incomparably overbearing. Arrogant little thief, I swear that you're dead. Quasi-immortal Emperor Guangshi's eyes flashed with coldness and killing intent as he said coldly. Ling Xiao's words had thoroughly infuriated him. Alright, everyone, let's not talk nonsense. Now, it's time to open the space passage and enter the heavenly ancient battlefield. At this moment, a quasi-immortal emperor of the Great Yen Immortal Court spoke. Quasi-immortal Emperor Qin Yun and quasi-immortal Emperor Guangshi looked at each other and snorted coldly. They did not continue to make things difficult for them. The 6 quasi-immortal emperors instantly leaped up and unleashed their terrifying and powerful cultivation. They were ready to tear open the space passage and open a path to enter the heavenly ancient battlefield. Chapter 3452. Rumble. Crack. In the air, the 6 quasi-immortal emperors exuded terrifying auras. All of them were shrouded in immortal light as killing intent permeated the air. They unleashed boundless might, resembling 6 resplendent suns in the sky, blotting out the radiance of the sun. The sky above Quokang Mountain was distorted. Cracks had already appeared in the void, and a dark aura seeped out from them. The 6 quasi-immortal emperors' joint attacks were expanding the cracks, as if they were about to form a spatial tunnel. That was where the 2 worlds intersected, and where the eternal immortal domains and the creatures of darkness fought. It was the heavenly Tao ancient battlefield. At this moment, the geniuses of the 3 celestial courts, everlasting families, imperishable sects, and holy lands all raised their heads and looked at the gradually forming spatial tunnel. Their eyes were filled with excitement. Senior Ling Xiao, the leader of the Great Yen Immortal Court this time, should be their eldest princess, Yen Hongya. She's the one in red armor. She's extraordinarily talented, and according to legend, she has the flame immortal body. There's another person we need to pay attention to. He's the young man in purple robes next to Yen Hongya. His name is Zhou Yuan, and he's the divine son of one of the everlasting families in the Great Yen Immortal Domain. Rumor has it that when he was born, his purple aura spread for 30,000 miles. He's a natural-born saint. Yen Hongya and Zhou Yuan are the ones most likely to break through to the quasi-immortal emperor realm. However, the Great Yen Immortal Court has always been neutral. As long as we don't offend them, they won't attack us. Crown Prince Li Wuji transmitted to Ling Xiao as they waited for the spatial tunnel to open. Ling Xiao's eyes flashed, and he nodded. He saw that the leader of the Great Yen Immortal Court was a valiant woman in red armor. She had a voluptuous figure, and her eyes were cold and aloof, exuding a lofty arrogance. The young man in purple robes next to her had a head of flowing purple hair. He was handsome and elegant, and his aura was incomparably mysterious. The two of them looked like a perfect couple standing together, and they attracted the attention of countless people. Ling Xiao could sense that Yan Hongye and Zhou Yuan's auras were indeed powerful, and their talents weren't weak either. They should be on par with the second prince, Li Wushuang. As such, Li Wushuang's gaze constantly swept between Yan Hongye and Zhou Yuan. As for the Truth Immortal Court, the Celestial Court of Truth is much stronger than our Celestial Court of Fortune. Even I'm not sure if they have any hidden geniuses this time. However, we must also pay attention to the three leaders among them. Crown Prince Li Wuji said slowly with a tinge of fear in his eyes. Following Crown Prince Li Wuji's gaze, Ling Zhao's gaze landed on the members of the Celestial Court of Truth. The Truth Immortal Court was led by three geniuses, one male and two females. The person in the lead was dressed in a white robe. He held a folding fan in his hand and wore a jade crown on his head. He looked elegant and extraordinary, like an elegant young master in a chaotic world. His eyes were deep and bright, like the stars, unforgettable. Chaotic light rose around his body. The immortal light was faintly discernible, making it impossible for others to discern his aura and depth. But as he stood there, it was as if he was the center of heaven and earth. He had a dazzling temperament. To his left and right were two women in long white dresses. They looked like twins, and their faces were extremely similar. They were both incomparably beautiful and exuded an aura of peerless elegance. Their auras were extremely terrifying as well. Ling Xiao could feel a strong sense of threat just by looking at them. Interesting. A look of interest appeared in Ling Xiao's eyes. The white-robed man and the two white-dressed women seemed to have cultivated some kind of secret technique that could conceal their cultivation and aura, making it impossible for others to see through them. However, the sense of danger he felt was undeniable. It was clear that these three were extremely strong. The man in white is called Ning Shukong. He's the crown prince of the Truth Immortal Court. When he was born, strange phenomena occurred. It was as if a river of time and space had appeared, and the outside world had frozen. He has the legendary immortal void body, which ranks in the top 10 of the countless supreme physiques in the eternal immortal domains. Even my second brother, who is said to be unparalleled in talent, is still a little lacking compared to Ning Shukong. The two women in white beside Ning Shukong are the direct descendants of the Bai family, the #1 everlasting family in the Truth Immortal Court. They are also twins. One is called Bai Qingxue, the other Bai Qingshuang. Both of them have the Taiyin immortal body, and their minds are connected. When they join forces, even immortal kings can kill half-immortal emperors. Their battle prowess is heaven-defying to the extreme. In addition, Bai Qingxue and Bai Qingshuang were betrothed to Ning Shukong by the Bai family when they were very young. When the three of them work together, their battle prowess is enough to defeat ordinary half-immortal emperors. They are our greatest enemy in the Heavenly Dao ancient battlefield. Crown Prince Li Wuji explained in detail to Ling Xiao. Ling Xiao nodded, his eyes flashing. He could sense that although Ning Shukong and the two Bai family goddesses were extremely strong, there were a few other auras in the Truth Immortal Court that were incomparably obscure, but extremely powerful. For example, behind Ning Shukong, there was a very ordinary-looking young man with a long sword on his back. His entire body exuded an extremely powerful sword intent that was incomparably sharp. His restrained killing intent made him seem like a demon that had walked out of a mountain of corpses and a sea of blood. It was incomparably terrifying. In Ling Zhao's opinion, the ordinary-looking young man with a long sword on his back was most likely not inferior to Zhou Yuan. In fact, he might even be stronger. The Truth Immortal Court was indeed the strongest among the three great immortal courts. This trip to the Heavenly Dao ancient battlefield to hunt the creatures of darkness was indeed filled with crouching tigers and hidden dragons. Rumble. At this moment, the huge spatial tunnel in the void slowly formed under the joint efforts of the 6 half-immortal emperors. The dark aura gushed out from it. It was eerie and cold, as if it led to an unknown and ancient world. Everyone couldn't help but shiver. Everyone from the Truth Immortal Court, quickly enter the Heavenly Tao ancient battlefield. Quasi-immortal Emperor Kuang Shi's eyes flashed coldly. He was incomparably domineering as he took the lead and shouted. Ning Shukong and the two Bai clan's goddesses' eyes flashed. They instantly soared into the sky and flew into the spatial tunnel. Behind them, many immortal kings, young sky prides, and monstrous geniuses from the Truth Immortal Court also followed and entered the Heavenly Tao ancient battlefield. Senior Ling Xiao, let's go too. Crown Prince Li Wuji's eyes flashed as he said slowly. All right. Ling Xiao nodded. Crown Prince Li Wuji, Second Prince Li Wushuang, and the others also soared into the spatial tunnel and flew into it. Fellow cultivator Ling Xiao, please. Qing Yun Quasi-Immortal Emperor transmitted his voice to Ling Xiao as he flew past him. Don't worry. Ling Xiao replied indifferently. Then, together with Crown Prince Li Wuji, they instantly disappeared into the spatial tunnel. The light in front of them changed. Immortal light was faintly discernible. Endless spatial turbulence surged violently and various mysterious scenes appeared. When the scene in front of them became clear again, Ling Xiao, Crown Prince Li Wuji, and the others had already appeared in an unfamiliar and ancient space. The sky was greenish-gray. Mountains rose and fell in the distance. They didn't seem to have any signs of life. A strange black mist filled the air. The immortal spiritual qi here was very thin, and the heaven and earth were filled with a strange dark energy. Ling Xiao looked around and suddenly felt a strong sense of danger surging in his heart. His expression changed abruptly, and he quickly shouted, "Oh no, there's an ambush." Chapter 3453. Rumble. Lightning and divine light intertwined in the surroundings. A terrifying aura of destruction emerged from all directions in an instant. The divine chains of order hidden in the void intertwined with each other. The powerful and terrifying power of the formation completely erupted, turning this area into a land of death. In an instant, it shrouded the people of the immortal court of creation within it. Boundless eternal heavenly might burst forth. Bolts of lightning seemed to be the divine thunder of the heavenly Tao. They contained the purest origin aura. A terrifying and peerless killing formation actually rose up in the surroundings. In an instant, dozens of immortal kings were caught off guard and were blasted into dust by the terrifying lightning. Even their primordial spirits were completely shattered, and they died directly. Oh no, it's a trap set by those bastards of the Truth Immortal Court. Everyone, break the formation quickly. Crown Prince Li Wuji's expression changed drastically, and he roared. Damned Truth Immortal Court, damned Ning Shukong. If I catch you, I'll make sure you suffer a fate worse than death. The second Prince Li Wushuang was also trembling with anger. His eyes were filled with monstrous rage. Although he and the Crown Prince had a fierce battle, they still chose to fight together against a common enemy in the face of external enemies. Rumble. Immortal light rose, and incomparably powerful immortal artifacts were summoned. All kinds of powerful immortal arts, secret techniques, and divine abilities were instantly activated and bombarded the formation in all directions. It could be seen that the Truth Immortal Court had set up this trap in a hurry. Although the formation contained the eternal heavenly Tao might, it was not perfect and there were still loopholes to exploit. The people of the Immortal Court of Fortune reacted and attacked at the same time. Soon, the formation was completely destroyed. However, there were still over 100 immortal kings who had perished here. Everyone's expression was very ugly, and their eyes were surging with anger. They never thought that they would be tricked by the people of the Truth Immortal Court as soon as they entered the Heavenly Tao ancient battlefield. Buzz. Immortal light drifted in the void, and a white-robed figure emerged. It was Ning Shukong. Everyone of the Immortal Court of Creation, do you like the gift that I've prepared for you? In this Heavenly Tao ancient battlefield, my Truth Immortal Court is destined to come out on top and snatch another 500 Tao domains from your Fortune Immortal Court. If you're afraid of death, then leave now. Otherwise, if you fall into my hands, don't blame me for being impolite. Ning Shukong looked indifferent, his tone was calm, and there was a faint smile on his face. However, everyone could hear the arrogance and overbearingness in that voice, as well as the blatant disregard. Li Wushuang threw out a punch and instantly turned Ning Shukong, who was in the void, into powder. However, that figure was only a mark left by Ning Shukong. At this moment, Ning Shukong's real body was still hiding somewhere. After hearing Ning Shukong's words, Crown Prince Li Wuji and Second Prince Li Wushuang's faces darkened. They weren't stupid. From the panicked faces of the people of the Immortal Court of Fortune, they already understood that Ning Shukong's psychological attack had already taken effect. Ning Shukong first set up a trap to kill some Immortal King experts and then said those words to make the people of the Fortune Immortal Court think of retreating so that he could defeat them one by one. Ling Zhao's eyes lit up. Ning Shukong was indeed a scheming person. The Truth Immortal Court was already extremely powerful and had twice the number of people compared to the Fortune Immortal Court. However, Ning Shukong wasn't arrogant. Instead, he showed his ruthless side. Not only did he set up a trap to kill the people of the Fortune Immortal Court, but he also had a psychological attack. He wanted to disturb the morale of the people of the Fortune Immortal Court. Everything he did was to completely defeat the Immortal Court of Creation. After all, they entered the Heavenly Dao ancient battlefield to hunt the dark creatures. However, with the enmity between the Fortune Immortal Court and the Truth Immortal Court, they were also in a life and death state. Therefore, the Truth Immortal Court didn't mind killing all the young geniuses of the Fortune Immortal Court in the Heavenly Dao ancient battlefield. In this way, the Fortune Immortal Court would suffer such a huge loss and become weaker while the Truth Immortal Court would become stronger. Ling Xiao, Crown Prince Li Wuji, and Second Prince Li Wushuang all understood Ning Shukong's intention. We can't act together. That's too big of a target and it's easy for Ning Shukong to detect our intentions. Therefore, I think we should act separately. Crown Prince Li Wuji's eyes flashed as he made a prompt decision and looked at Second Prince Li Wushuang. You're right. We should indeed act separately. How about this? You and I each lead a team to hunt the dark creatures, find the eternal fruit, and kill the dark quasi-immortal emperor. As for the other rogue cultivators or the young geniuses who don't want to follow us, they can act on their own. Surprisingly, Second Prince Li Wushuang didn't mock Li Wuji. Instead, he nodded in agreement. Alright, then it's decided. Senior Ling Xiao, why don't you act together with me? I'll lead a team to find the whereabouts of the eternal fruit for you. Li Wuji looked at Ling Xiao seriously and asked. There's no need for that. If we have too many people, we'll only alert the enemy. Therefore, I've decided to act alone. Your Highness, you can act according to your plan. After I find the eternal fruit and break through to the quasi-immortal emperor realm, I'll meet up with you. Ling Zhao's eyes flashed, but he still shook his head and rejected the suggestion. Now that he had the whereabouts of 4 eternal fruits, Ling Xiao naturally wanted to keep all 4 of them. However, since so many people had entered the heavenly ancient battlefield, not to mention the hidden dark creatures, it was hard to guarantee that the eternal fruits would not be obtained by others. Therefore, Ling Xiao had to act quickly. Finding the 4 eternal fruits was the most important thing. Alright, in that case, I won't force you. Senior Ling Xiao, please be careful. If you encounter any danger, please contact me at any time. I'll definitely help you as soon as possible. Crown Prince Li Wuji also nodded. Therefore, after entering the heavenly ancient battlefield, the tens of thousands of celestial kings from the creation celestial court began to act separately. Crown Prince Li Wuji and Second Prince Li Wushuang each led thousands of celestial kings in different directions. There were also thousands of rogue cultivators and celestial kings who were unwilling to follow them. They left on their own and headed in all directions. They either hunted the creatures of darkness, searched for heavenly materials and earthly treasures, or had other plans. Ling Xiao, on the other hand, flew into the depths of the heavenly ancient battlefield alone. Chapter 3454. Ling Xiao headed toward the depths of the Heavenly Dao ancient battlefield. His target was none other than the eternal fruit. The 3 eternal fruits that Grand Elder Life gave me aren't far from where I am now. They're all in the periphery of the Heavenly Dao ancient battlefield. On the other hand, the eternal fruit given by the Yi family patriarch is located in the depths of the heavenly Tao ancient battlefield. Ling Zhao's eyes flashed as he looked at the locations of the 4 eternal fruits. He immediately made up his mind to search for the 3 eternal fruits that Grand Elder Life had given him. Ling Zhao's speed was extremely fast. He was like a bolt of golden lightning as he moved forward. The heavenly Tao ancient battlefield was a very mysterious space where the eternal immortal domain and the dark qi intertwined. It was filled with the eternal laws of the heavenly Tao and the unfamiliar dark laws. The 2 laws intersected, causing the space here to become extremely unstable. Even quasi-immortal emperors didn't dare to travel through the void recklessly. Otherwise, they would be dragged into an eternal void by the chaotic power of the 2 laws. They would never be able to find the ancient battlefield of heavenly Tao or the eternal immortal domains again. Therefore, Ling Xiao didn't tear the void apart. Instead, he flew forward at top speed. He didn't bring Yi Liangshui with him to the heavenly Tao ancient battlefield this time. Yi Liangshui had been bestowed with enlightenment by the Yi family patriarch and had become the Yi family's divine son. Ling Xiao was satisfied that he had such a good home. Immortal King Qilin had also been temporarily stored in Ling Zhao's small world. After all, Immortal King Qilin's true form was an emperor-grade celestial herb. If he appeared in the heavenly Tao ancient battlefield rashly, he would attract the attention of countless people and cause great trouble. Ling Xiao traveled hundreds of thousands of miles in an instant. His first target was the Black Pool. There was an eternal fruit in the Black Pool. It was rumored that a supreme immortal emperor had passed away here. Later on, the immortal emperor's inheritance was taken away. However, the Black Pool was gradually condensed into an eternal fruit by the immortal emperor's laws of the heavenly Tao. However, when the heavenly Tao ancient battlefield opened last time, the eternal fruit hadn't matured yet. Moreover, there were creatures of darkness eyeing it covetously, so the heavenly Tao business alliance didn't take it away. Ling Xiao couldn't help but marvel at the heavenly Tao business alliance's strength and terror. The Yi family patriarch had gone to great lengths to discover the eternal fruit's whereabouts. However, the great elder life had casually revealed the locations of the 3 eternal fruits. Indeed, comparisons were odious. Now, Ling Xiao had to take all the eternity fruits before anyone else discovered them. Ling Xiao quickly found the Black Pool. It was a huge pool in the middle of the 2 dark mountain ranges. An underground river flowed into the huge pool through the gaps between the mountain ranges. The Blackwater Pool was like a huge lake, and it was filled with a dark and strange mist. Ling Xiao could sense that there was a group of unknown creatures with powerful auras around the Black Pool. Are they the creatures of darkness? Ling Zhao's eyes flashed with a trace of surprise. He saw a group of dark creatures sitting cross-legged in front of the Black Pool in the black mist, absorbing the dark energy. As for the creatures of darkness, they looked no different from the humans of the eternal immortal domains. The only difference was that their auras were dark and sinister. Ling Xiao could see that the aura of the group of dark creatures was not very strong. Apart from the 2 people in the lead who had reached the peak of the Immortal King realm, the rest were mostly only at the true immortal realm. They seemed to treat the Black Pool as a treasure ground that could absorb the dark energy. They occupied the surroundings and continuously absorbed and refined the dark energy here. Kill them. A gleam of light flashed through Ling Zhao's eyes. In an instant, an extremely terrifying presence erupted around him as he charged towards the group of creatures of darkness. As the saying went, those who weren't of the same race were bound to have different intentions. The eternal immortal domains and the creatures of darkness had been at war for many years, and there was a deep-seated hatred between the 2 sides. No matter who saw the other, they would immediately be ruthless. Therefore, Ling Xiao only hesitated for a moment, then attacked. Not good. It's a traitor of the immortal region. Kill him. The eyes of the 2 dark creatures at the peak of the Immortal King realm flashed with a cold light. In an instant, killing intent rose from their bodies. They spat out strange syllables, a language unique to the creatures of darkness. Even Ling Xiao sounded a little cryptic and difficult to understand. But he heard 2 words clearly: traitor of the immortal region. Ling Zhao's heart skipped a beat. Why would the creatures of darkness call him a traitor of the immortal region? However, he only thought about it for a moment before attacking mercilessly. Sky Devourer glowed with dazzling light, and two beams of incomparably sharp sword energy swept down. In an instant, hundreds of millions of dazzling sword lights slashed down. The true immortals of darkness didn't even have time to react before Sky Devourer cut them down like vegetables. In the blink of an eye, Ling Xiao had wiped out all of the creatures of darkness, leaving only the two-peak Immortal King Dark creatures. The two-peak Immortal King Dark creatures couldn't help but pale when they saw Ling Xiao's terrifying battle prowess. They immediately turned and fled into the distance. Since Ling Xiao had attacked, he naturally wouldn't leave them alive. Sky Devourer's sword energy surged as he activated the three swords of origin. Incomparably sharp sword energy caught up to the two dark creatures in an instant. Sky Devourer's sword was like a long rainbow as it slashed down towards the two dark creatures. The eyes of the two dark creatures were filled with shock and anger. They cried out loudly as they executed powerful divine abilities. Beams of dark divine light flew towards Ling Xiao. However, this was just their final struggle. Sky Devourer's sword energy was sharp and could destroy everything. It contained the might of the eternal heavenly Tao and instantly destroyed the two beams of dark divine light. Then, the sword energy descended and enveloped the two dark creatures. Blood light filled the air as black mist rose. Ling Xiao killed them with his sword. The two dark creatures were completely dead. Even the peak Immortal King Dark creatures couldn't block Ling Xiao's sword intent. Ling Xiao's current battle prowess was peerlessly powerful. Only a quasi-immortal emperor could compare to him. However, Ling Xiao also discovered that these dark creatures were indeed difficult to deal with. Especially the dark energy, it contained extremely strong corrosive and invasive properties. If one was injured by the dark creatures, the dark energy would enter one's body. Not only would the injury become more serious, it was even very likely that one would eventually be contaminated by the dark energy and completely become a member of the dark creatures. This was the terrifying part of the dark creatures. Legend had it that in ancient times, there were even immortal emperors who were once contaminated by the dark creatures and turned into dark immortal emperors. They had once wreaked havoc and slaughtered billions of living beings. Among this group of dark creatures, other than the two peak Immortal King Dark creatures, there were three other Immortal King Dark creatures. Ling Xiao kept their corpses. All Immortal King Realm creatures of darkness could be counted as points. Of course, the key to determining the outcome of the trial in the Heavenly Tao ancient battlefield was still the quasi-immortal Emperor Dark creatures. After keeping the corpses, Ling Xiao turned around and plunged into the black pool. Chapter 3455. In the black pool, the dark energy was so dense that it could not be dispersed. It seemed to have sensed Ling Xiao's aura and constantly surged into Ling Xiao's body, wanting to completely assimilate Ling Xiao. Ling Xiao's body was surrounded by a dazzling golden glow. A layer of immortal and mysterious immortal light appeared on the surface of his body, isolating all the dark energy outside. Ling Xiao continued to dive into the black pool. The black pool was bottomless. Ling Xiao dived for more than 10,000 feet before stopping. According to the guidance of the map, Ling Xiao found an ancient stone cave in an underground mountain range. There was a special aura of a seal left behind by the Heavenly Tao Business Alliance. An ancient token appeared in Ling Xiao's palm. On it were the two ancient immortal words, Heavenly Tao. It was the Heavenly Tao token that he had obtained from the Heavenly Tao Business Alliance. In an instant, the Heavenly Tao token bloomed with a dazzling light. The seal in front of him trembled slightly and then slowly broke apart. This was the seal left behind by the Heavenly Tao Business Alliance. Without the Heavenly Tao token, an immortal king powerhouse would definitely not be able to break it. Even a quasi-immortal emperor would have to spend a lot of effort to break it. After breaking the seal, Ling Xiao directly entered the stone cave. In the stone cave, there was a lotus pond enshrouded in immortal light. In the lotus pond, there were white lotus flowers blooming. The lotus flower in the center was dazzling with golden light and had 12 petals. Ling Xiao instantly recognized that it was a 12th grade golden lotus. On this 12th grade golden lotus, there was a dazzling fruit. It was like a small sun, dazzling with immortal light. Ling Xiao's gaze was instantly attracted by the fruit that was like a small sun. It was the eternal fruit. The eternal fruit was formed by the eternal heavenly Tao's origin power. Some were born from flowers and plants, some were born from trees, and some were even born from mountains and rocks. Ling Xiao felt that on the 12th grade golden lotus, the fruit that was as dazzling as the sun, emitted a vast and majestic eternal heavenly Tao aura. He almost immediately recognized that this must be the eternal fruit. Moreover, the eternal fruit's heavenly Tao aura was very dense and emitted a powerful wave of energy. It was obvious that this eternal fruit had matured. Ling Xiao took a deep breath and slowly walked up. The sky-devouring sword appeared in his palm. He dug out the entire lotus pond from its roots and stored it in his small world. It had to be said that this cave was a completely different world. It was extremely mysterious. The dark aura outside was incomparably dense, but an eternal fruit was actually nurtured here. If they hadn't seen it with their own eyes, no one would have imagined that there was an eternal fruit in the black pool. After Ling Xiao accepted the eternity fruit, he did not consume it immediately. He remembered what the Life Grand Elder had said. It would be best if he could obtain a few more fruits of eternity. Only then would he be able to obtain as many blessings as possible from the eternal heavenly Tao essence. Only in this way would he have a stronger foundation and accumulation after breaking through to the half-immortal emperor realm. Ling Xiao was prepared to collect all the eternal fruits and consume them before breaking through to the half-immortal emperor stage. After taking the fruit of eternity from the black pool, Ling Xiao did not stop. He immediately left the black pool and headed for the next fruit of eternity. Rumble. In the heavenly Tao ancient battlefield, in an incomparably mysterious region, immortal light was faintly discernible, and auspicious vapors were rising. There was not the slightest bit of dark aura here. Everything was pure and holy. It was as if this was not the heavenly Tao ancient battlefield, but some immortal mountain cave in the eternal immortal domain. Bai Qingxue and Bai Qingshuang looked around vigilantly, standing guard for Ling Shukong. Ning Shukong sat cross-legged under an ancient Bodhi tree. He had already consumed an eternal fruit nurtured by the Bodhi tree. Immortal light was faintly discernible around him. A vast and mysterious heavenly Tao essence aura emanated from him, causing the surrounding void to tremble violently. Thunder and lightning surged and heaven and earth shook. Behind him, shadows of chaos fiend gods and ancient immortal beasts appeared. It was a terrifying scene. A strong aura of a breakthrough emanated from his body. His cultivation base had also broken through to the half-immortal emperor stage. Ning Shukong slowly opened his eyes. Two incomparably sharp beams of divine light shot out, as if they could pierce through the void. Bai Qingshuang and Bai Qingxue couldn't help but tremble. Their eyes were filled with reverence and fanatical worship. Congratulations to your highness for breaking through to the half-immortal emperor stage. From now on, you will be invincible. Bai Qingshuang and Bai Qingxue said respectfully. I've just broken through to the half-immortal emperor stage. I'm still far from being invincible. Ning Shukong smiled faintly and slowly stood up. At this moment, his aura was more than 10 times stronger than before. Your Highness, are we going to continue looking for the eternal fruit? Bai Qingxue asked respectfully. No, we're not looking for the eternal fruit. We're going to hunt down the young geniuses of the Great Yen Immortal Court and the Creation Immortal Court. I believe that some of them have already found the eternal fruit. Ning Shukong licked his lips. His eyes revealed a trace of demonic and cold murderous intent. Yes. Bai Qingxue and Bai Qingshuang trembled and nodded respectfully. They didn't ask for the reason. They only knew that they only needed to carry out Ning Shukong's orders. They had already regarded themselves as Ning Shukong's women. They had absolute worship and loyalty to Ning Shukong. Even without Ning Shukong's explanation, they could vaguely guess that the 3 immortal courts had entered the heavenly ancient battlefield to hunt down the dark creatures. However, the 3 immortal courts were also competitors. In particular, the Truth Immortal Court and the Creation Immortal Court had been enemies for many years. They could understand why Ning Shukong wanted to hunt down the young geniuses of the other immortal courts. Moreover, as long as we kill all the young geniuses of the other immortal courts, the eternal fruits that appear in the heavenly ancient battlefield will naturally belong to the Truth Immortal Court. Qingxue, Qingshuang, you've followed me for so long. I don't have anything good to give you. Next, after I kill all the people of the other two immortal courts and obtain the eternal fruits, I'll give them to the two of you so that you can break through to the half-immortal emperor stage as soon as possible. Ning Shukong glanced at Bai Qingshuang and Bai Qingxue and smiled faintly. Thank you, Your Highness. Bai Qingshuang and Bai Qingshue's eyes were filled with gratitude. At this moment, an ordinary-looking young man with an ancient sword on his back stepped out of the void. He exuded a terrifying aura. His cultivation had also reached the half-immortal emperor stage. Your Highness, the elites of the Truth Immortal Court have gathered. We're waiting for your orders. The young man with an ancient sword on his back said calmly. Good, Shimanju. You didn't let me down. You've successfully broken through to the half-immortal emperor stage. Next, let's go on a killing spree in the heavenly ancient battlefield. Ning Su Kong said slowly. His eyes were filled with cold, murderous intent. Around him, a formidable qi spread out. Bai Qingshuang and Bai Qingxue were mesmerized by it. Chapter 3456. The second fruit of eternity was located in the Hidden Dragon Abyss. The Hidden Dragon Abyss was a strange place, located between two ancient mountains. Legend had it that an expert from the Dragon Clan had made a breakthrough here, but he had passed away. The dragon's might permeated the place, and at the same time, the dark qi intertwined, forming a strange shape. Many people knew that the Hidden Dragon Abyss was extraordinary, and that there might be treasures hidden within. However, many people had come here to search for treasures upon hearing that the ancient battlefield had opened, but they had all returned empty-handed. Ling Xiao had not expected that there would be an fruit of eternity here. After leaving the Black Pool, he rushed towards the Hidden Dragon Abyss at an extremely fast speed. Before long, the Hidden Dragon Abyss appeared in front of Ling Xiao. Rumble! The abyss between the two mountains was like a giant dragon that was tens of thousands of miles long, exuding an ancient and vast dragon's might. However, there was also a strong dark qi gushing out from the abyss. According to the treasure map that Life Grand Elder had given him, the second fruit of eternity was in the Hidden Dragon Abyss. Although the dark qi was extremely dense here, there were no dark creatures here. After all, the Hidden Dragon Abyss was too close to the eternal immortal domains. To the dark creatures, this place was of no use. Ling Xiao did not hesitate and jumped into the Hidden Dragon Abyss. The Hidden Dragon Abyss was bottomless, and the dragon's might grew stronger the deeper Ling Xiao went. After diving for tens of thousands of feet, he finally reached the bottom of the Hidden Dragon Abyss. The dark qi was extremely dense here, and it was so dark that he could not even see his own fingers. However, Ling Xiao suddenly sensed a powerful aura. Boom! In front of his eyes, there was a blazing light rising. A young man in a golden dragon robe was sitting cross-legged on a huge rock. The dragon's might around him seemed to have formed a strange resonance with the Hidden Dragon Abyss. It's him! Ling Xiao's eyes flashed with a trace of surprise. He did not expect to meet an acquaintance here. Who else could the young man in the golden dragon robe be but the Dragon Emperor's son? Ling Xiao, why are you here? The Dragon Emperor's son's eyes flashed coldly as he stared at Ling Xiao. I heard that there are treasures in the Hidden Dragon Abyss, so I came to look for them. Why are you here? Ling Xiao's eyes flashed as he asked indifferently. Of course I'm here to cultivate. You can search for treasures here, but don't disturb my cultivation. Prince Long glanced at Ling Xiao and said coldly. Originally, he wanted to directly chase Ling Xiao away, but when he thought of Ling Xiao's incomparably powerful battle prowess, he still felt a little hesitant. Although he was not afraid of Ling Xiao, the pure Dragon Emperor aura in the latent Dragon Abyss was very beneficial to his cultivation. If he rashly started a fight with Ling Xiao and destroyed the Dragon Emperor aura in this place, it would not be worth it. Sure. Ling Xiao's eyes flickered as he spoke indifferently. After all, even though he had a conflict with Prince Long in the past, both of them belonged to the Fortune Celestial Court. They were considered allies in the Heavenly Dao ancient battlefield. At this moment, since Prince Long was so tactful and did not arrogantly chase Ling Xiao away, Ling Xiao naturally could not be bothered with him. Activate! A light flickered in Ling Xiao's hand, and the Heavenly Law token appeared once again. The Heavenly Law token vibrated slightly, and runes were emitted from it. Ling Xiao was using the Heavenly Law token to find the seal of the Business Alliance of Immortal Dao. Not long after, Ling Xiao sensed a similar rune blossoming on the mountain wall in front of him. An indistinct seal appeared in front of Ling Xiao. When Prince Long saw the seal, he could not help but tremble. His eyes were filled with uncertainty. He had been cultivating here for a long time, but he had not sensed any treasures. How did Ling Xiao know that there were treasures here? Ling Xiao did not care about the doubts in Prince Long's heart. He walked towards the mountain wall, and the Heavenly Law token in his hand shone brightly. He gradually approached the seal, absorbing the aura and energy of the seal. In the end, the seal left behind by the Heavenly Law Business Alliance shattered completely with a crisp sound. A deep and ancient cave appeared in front of Ling Xiao. Without any hesitation, Ling Xiao walked straight into the cave. At this moment, Prince Long's eyes lit up. He was filled with curiosity. He did not continue cultivating but followed Ling Xiao into the cave. Inside the cave, auspicious qi was rising, and celestial light was faintly discernible. A dense, eternal Heavenly Law origin energy intertwined, and a small tree, about 3 feet long, appeared in front of Ling Xiao. It was growing on a huge rock. On the small tree, there was a red fruit. It looked like a flame, and there were complicated and mysterious runes on it. It was the fruit of eternity. What? There is an fruit of eternity here? Behind Ling Xiao, Prince Long's body shook. His eyes were filled with passion. He suddenly stretched out his claws and grabbed at the fruit of eternity. Get lost! Ling Xiao's eyes turned cold. His blood surged and he threw a punch at Prince Long. At the same time, his other hand was like a sword. Sword Qi rose, and he dug out the huge rock in front of him from the crack. Then, he waved his sleeve and kept it in his small world. Boom! Ling Xiao and Prince Long collided head-on in the void. Instantly, the surrounding mountains shook violently, and blazing light exploded. Ling Xiao did not move, but Prince Long retreated as if he had been hit by a terrifying attack. Ling Xiao, this is the place where the ancestors of the dragon tribe fell. The fruit of eternity was formed when the ancestors of the dragon tribe transformed into Dao, and the eternal heavenly law origin descended. Therefore, this fruit of eternity belongs to the Dragon Emperor Valley. Please hand it over. Prince Long's face turned pale, and his eyes were filled with coldness. He said slowly to Ling Xiao, "Hand over the fruit of eternity? I'm afraid you think too much. If you don't want to die, get lost now. Otherwise, don't blame me for being rude to you." Ling Xiao glanced at Prince Long coldly, then turned around and walked out. The fruit of eternity was extremely precious. It was reasonable for Prince Long to be greedy. However, if Prince Long was foolish enough to provoke Ling Xiao would not mind making him pay a heavy price. Good, very good. Ling Xiao, you stole the fruit of eternity from the Dragon Emperor Valley. Sooner or later, I'll take it back with my own hands. To Ling Xiao's surprise, Prince Dragon Emperor did not choose to attack him. Instead, he looked extremely gloomy as he stared at Ling Xiao coldly. It was not that Prince Long did not want to attack, but that he was not confident. However, he was sure that the fruit of eternity was a treasure left behind by the ancestors of the dragon tribe when they transformed into Dao. Naturally, he was not willing to let it fall into Ling Xiao's hands. Therefore, he had decided to contact the daughter of the true phoenix and the second prince to see if they could snatch the fruit of eternity from Ling Xiao. Ling Xiao glanced at Prince Long with a faint smile. Then, he turned into a stream of light and left the latent dragon abyss. Chapter 3457. The location of the third eternal fruit was called Taiping Mountain. Ling Shao was the last to go to Taiping Mountain to look for the eternal fruit because it was the furthest. More importantly, the eternal fruit on Taiping Mountain was hidden in the belly of the mountain. Moreover, Taiping Mountain looked extremely ordinary. Ordinary people would not even know that it was called Taiping Mountain. Therefore, the eternal fruit was the safest place. However, Ling Shao did not expect that the safest eternal fruit would have an accident. Among the Fortune Immortal Court's people, Ling Shao left the group and chose to act alone. Di Hongwan did not follow the Crown Prince Li Wuji and the second prince Li Wushuang. She also chose to act alone. Coincidentally, Di Hongwan found a king-grade spiritual herb not far from Taiping Mountain. The king-grade spiritual herb was very special. It was a green spirit celestial herb that could be used to refine green spirit celestial pills. It could increase one's chances of breaking through to the quasi-immortal emperor stage and strengthen one's foundation. In addition, the green spirit celestial herb was almost extinct in the outside world. Therefore, the green spirit celestial herb was extremely rare. Just as Di Hongwan was about to collect the green spirit celestial herb, the people from the Great Yen Kingdom arrived. It was the purple-robed young man from the Great Yen Kingdom, Zhou Yuan. When Zhou Yuan saw the green spirit celestial herb, he was shocked. When he saw that Di Hongwan was alone, he immediately became greedy. He wanted to take the king-grade celestial herb from Di Hongwan with his advantage in numbers. However, Di Hongwan was not to be trifled with. She was the little princess of the Radiance Celestial Court and had all kinds of celestial artifacts. Although she was besieged by Zhou Yuan and hundreds of celestial kings, she was still evenly matched with Zhou Yuan's group under the protection of various powerful celestial artifacts and powerful formations. However, such a terrifying battle also affected Taiping Mountain and caused it to be destroyed. Then, the seal left behind by the Heavenly Dao Business Union on Peace Mountain was completely exposed to everyone. Others might not know about the seal of the Heavenly Law Business Alliance, but Zhou Yuan was very clear about it. He was lucky enough to see the seal of the Heavenly Law Business Alliance, so he knew at a glance that it was a powerful formation left behind to seal the treasure. Furthermore, there were 9 layers to the seal. A treasure that could make the Heavenly Dao Business Alliance use 9 layers of seals to seal it must be world-shaking and incomparably precious. Zhou Yuan immediately thought of the eternal fruit. Thus, while he ordered his men to continue attacking Di Hongwan, he personally took action to destroy the seal left behind by the Heavenly Law Business Alliance and retrieve the treasure within. At this moment, Ling Shao arrived at Taiping Mountain and saw the scene in front of him. Hundreds of celestial kings surrounded Di Hongwan and unleashed their killing moves. Countless powerful spells and immortal weapons bombarded the defensive immortal weapons and immortal formations around Di Hongwan. On the other side, Zhou Yuan led several hundred immortal kings and similarly executed powerful divine abilities. They wanted to use brute force to break the seal left behind by the Heavenly Dao Business Alliance. Ling Shao furrowed his brows as a cold glint flashed across his eyes. He did not expect the people of the Great Yen Immortal Court to appear at Taiping Mountain and discover the place where the eternal fruit was sealed. At this moment, Di Hongwan also noticed Ling Shao in the void and immediately revealed an extremely joyful expression. "Ling Shao, come and save me!" Di Hongwan hurriedly shouted at Ling Shao. Ling Shao did not immediately take action. Instead, he said indifferently, "Di Hongwan, don't you have the sovereign of light body? It seems that your sovereign of light body is not that great. You can't even deal with the siege of a group of immortal kings. Don't mock and ridicule me. The main thing is that there are some problems with my body, causing my strength to be greatly reduced. Otherwise, do you think you can surround this princess with these rotten fish and shrimps?" Di Hongwan said somewhat helplessly and unwillingly. "Who dares to be so presumptuous in the territory of the Great Yen Immortal Court? If you don't want to die, scram." An expert at the peak of the 9th heaven of the Immortal King realm looked at Ling Shao with incomparable vigilance and coldness as he shouted coldly, "Ling Shao, save me quickly. If I really die here, you won't be able to find that place." Di Hongyuan looked at Ling Xiao in the void and yelled anxiously. Ling Xiao's expression was indifferent. Light shone in his palm, and the sky-swallowing sword appeared. The sword in his hand spewed out a dazzling light. He pointed at the many immortal kings and said indifferently, "Let her go, or don't blame my sword for being merciless." At the same time, Zhou Yuan, who was breaking the seal, also noticed Ling Xiao. He instantly flew over and stared at Ling Xiao with incomparable coldness as he said, "You're from the Creation Immortal Court? If you don't want to die, scram. Your Creation Immortal Court can't even fend off the Truth Immortal Court. Now, you want to offend the Great Yen Immortal Court? Do you know who she is? She's the little princess of the Light Immortal Court, Di Hongluan. Your Great Yen Immortal Court is just a remote Immortal Court. How can it be compared to the Light Immortal Court in the Central Immortal Domain? You don't know what kind of trouble you've caused for the Great Yen Immortal Court. If you don't let her go, I'm afraid not only you but also the Great Yen Immortal Court will be finished." Ling Xiao said indifferently with a hint of mockery at the corners of his mouth. "What? The Light Immortal Court?" Zhou Yuan's body trembled, and a trace of undetectable panic flashed in his eyes. He had naturally heard of the Light Immortal Court. It was one of the most powerful immortal courts in the Central Immortal Domain. It had a true immortal emperor overseeing it, and it had always suppressed everything. Not to mention the Great Yen Immortal Court, even the Great Yen Immortal Court, the Creation Immortal Court, and the Truth Immortal Court combined couldn't compare to the Light Immortal Court. He had never thought that the person they were besieging would be the little princess of the Light Immortal Court. "Cut the crap. How dare you use the Light Immortal Court to scare me? The Light Immortal Court is an invincible force. How could they let their princess come here? Boy, if you want to die, I'll fulfill your wish." Zhou Yuan's eyes flashed with killing intent. Lightning flashed in his palm, and a purple battle saber appeared. He held the purple battle saber in his hand, and his killing intent surged as he slashed at Ling Xiao. Zhou Yuan's heart was already filled with killing intent. What Ling Xiao said was too serious. Although he didn't know whether Ling Xiao was telling the truth, he already had the intention to kill him. He decided to kill Ling Xiao and Di Hongluan. Even if Di Hongluan was really the little princess of the Light Immortal Court, no one would know that she had died in his hands. As the divine son of the Zhou clan, Zhou Yuan was extremely powerful. He had the purple heaven's sacred body and was a natural saint. He was extremely powerful and could control the power of lightning. He slashed out with his saber, and it was as if millions of saber lights had appeared between heaven and earth, enveloping Ling Xiao. Then, the millions of saber lights condensed into one, turning into a giant saber of lightning that seemed to be able to cut the world apart. It was going to split Ling Xiao in half. Boom! Ling Xiao's eyes flashed sharply, and the heaven-devouring sword bloomed with dazzling light. Sword chi swept across the sky. It was as if all things had been destroyed, and it was the origin of heaven and earth. It contained the supreme truth. The sword light seemed to have penetrated everything and turned into eternity. Kacha! The thunderbolts that filled the sky were swept away by Ling Xiao's sword. Sword chi soared into the air, its momentum undiminished. After destroying the incomparably sharp blade light, it continued to press towards Zhou Yuan. Chapter 3458. Zhou Yuan's expression changed drastically. He did not expect Ling Xiao's combat strength to be so terrifying. That sword strike made him feel an indescribable sense of danger. Purple chi rose from his palm, and in an instant, a small purple shield appeared. The small purple shield was a powerful quasi-emperor weapon. Mysterious runes were intertwined on it, and it exuded the power of the eternal heavenly Tao. It blocked in front of the heaven-devouring sword. Boom! The small purple shield trembled violently, and the runes on it bloomed with dazzling light. However, under the sword chi of Ling Xiao's origin sword, the runes were destroyed one after another. In the end, the small purple shield dimmed a little. Zhou Yuan felt an unparalleled divine power, and he was sent flying. Zhou Yuan's eyes were filled with disbelief and pain. The small purple shield's defense was unparalleled, and it was an incomparably precious treasure to him. However, it was damaged by Ling Xiao's heaven-devouring sword. In an instant, an indescribable fear of Ling Xiao rose in Zhou Yuan's heart. He did not expect Ling Xiao's combat strength to be so terrifying. Even his gaze towards Ling Xiao became solemn. However, after Ling Xiao sent Zhou Yuan flying, he didn't seem to care about him at all. He charged forward with his sword in hand. Sword chi swept across the void and slashed down at the hundreds of true immortal kings surrounding Di Hongluan. Boom! In the sky, a dazzling sword light that was 10,000 miles long seemed to appear. It contained an unparalleled power that could suppress everything, and it descended majestically. Those immortal kings were shocked and angry. They all unleashed their strongest cultivation. Rays of immortal light soared into the sky, and powerful immortal weapons swept across the void. Hundreds of immortal kings attacked at the same time, and the momentum was incomparably vast. It was like a torrent that soared into the sky and collided with Ling Xiao's sword light. Rumble! The sword light annihilated everything. Although the torrent looked majestic, it was extremely weak and could not withstand the power of Ling Xiao's heaven-devouring sword. In an instant, the rays of immortal light were destroyed, and powerful immortal weapons flew out. On the other hand, the bodies of those few hundred immortal kings trembled violently, and they suddenly spat out mouthfuls of blood before they retreated. At that moment, Di Hongluan saw an opportunity and instantly soared into the sky, escaping from the encirclement of many immortal kings. Her eyes were filled with excitement and amazement. It was not that she had not seen Ling Xiao fight before, but this time, Ling Xiao had personally come to save her. It was a very different feeling. Looking at Ling Xiao, who held the heaven-swallowing sword in his hand and was surrounded by celestial light, even Di Hongluan's eyes shone with a strange light. It was as if there were countless worlds around him. "Who are you?" Zhou Yuan's expression was incomparably dark. He wiped the blood from the corner of his mouth and stared at Ling Xiao. In the Great Yen Immortal Court, he was one of the peerless geniuses. With the purple cloud's sacred body, he was a natural-born saint. Even the Princess Royal, Yen Hongye, relied on him. Naturally, his arrogance had been nurtured. However, after exchanging blows with Ling Xiao today, he truly understood what it meant to say that there was always someone better than him. Ling Xiao was so powerful that he did not seem like an immortal king. If he had not sensed that Ling Xiao's aura was still at the 9th heaven of the immortal king realm, he would have thought that Ling Xiao had broken through to the quasi-immortal emperor realm. You don't even know who he is, and you dare to make an enemy out of him? He is ranked first on the Origin Heaven Dao tablet, the peerless genius who suppressed against the heavens, Ling Xiao. Di Hongluan sneered, her eyes full of mockery. "What? You are Ling Xiao?" Zhou Yuan's body trembled, and his eyes were filled with horror. The Origin Heaven Dao tablet contained the origin of the eternal Heavenly Dao. Although he'd taken out the Origin Heavenly Dao cup in the minor world of the Heavenly Dao Business Alliance, anyone who managed to climb onto one of the steels would have their steels appear in the skies above the eternal immortal realms, where countless almighty experts would be able to sense it. Although Zhou Yuan couldn't sense the Origin Heavenly Dao steel, a quasi-immortal emperor ancestor of the Zhou clan could sense the unusual movement of the Origin Heavenly Dao steel and saw the name Ling Xiao rush to the top of the Origin Heavenly Dao steel, suppressing, defying the heavens and becoming the #1 immortal king. What kind of glory was it to reach the top of the Origin Heaven Dao tablet? Zhou Yuan had a deep impression of Ling Xiao's name. Previously, quasi-immortal Emperor Quokang Mountain had said that he wanted to kill Ling Xiao, and he had thought that they just had the same name. But now that Di Hongluan had spoken, he realized that Ling Xiao was really the Ling Xiao who had climbed to the top of the Origin Heaven Dao tablet. Zhou Yuan's expression was extremely ugly, but he still said coldly, "Ling Xiao, although you are talented, the Great Yen Empire is not afraid. Since she is your friend, you can take her away, and the Great Yen Empire will not pursue the matter." Although Zhou Yuan's tone seemed very stiff, everyone knew that he had given in. After all, Ling Xiao was too famous. He ranked first on the Origin Heaven Dao tablet, and his talent was unprecedented. What kind of heaven-defying aptitude was this? Moreover, Ling Xiao had just shown that he could destroy everything. He could not stop Ling Xiao at all, so he could only give in. You want us to leave? It's not that easy. Boy, didn't you just want me to hand over the green spirit immortal grass? If you want me to leave, give me 100 heavenly Tao source crystals? No, you are the ones who should leave. Give me 100 heavenly Tao source crystals, and I will let you go. Di Hongyuan sneered. Don't go too far. Zhou Yuan's eyes flashed coldly as he stared at Di Hongyuan. She is right. You are the ones who should leave, not us. The treasure in the seal is mine. You can leave. Otherwise, don't blame my sword for being merciless. Ling Zhao's eyes were incomparably indifferent as he coldly glanced at Zhou Yuan. What? This time, Zhou Yuan was completely enraged, and his eyes were filled with hostility. It should be said that the eternal fruit was very likely in the 9 seals. Even if it was not the eternal fruit, it could be some kind of powerful inheritance or treasure. How could he give it up? Not only did Di Hongyuan and Ling Xiao want him to hand over 100 heavenly Tao source crystals, but they also wanted to snatch the treasure in the seal. They were simply going too far. A light flashed in Ling Xiao's palm, and the heavenly Tao token appeared. I am from the Heavenly Tao Business Alliance, and the seal was left behind by a senior of the Heavenly Tao Business Alliance. The sealed treasure is naturally a treasure of the Heavenly Tao Business Alliance. That's all I have to say. If you want to die, you can try to snatch it. Ling Xiao said indifferently, but his incomparably calm words contained an indescribable domineering and majestic aura. Chapter 3459. Seeing the Heavenly Tao token in Ling Zhao's hand, Zhou Yuan's face instantly turned extremely ugly, and his eyes were filled with shock. He did not expect Ling Xiao to have the Heavenly Tao token. It should be known that the Heavenly Tao token was something that only the Grand Elders of the Heavenly Tao Business Alliance had. There were only a few dozen Grand Elders in the Heavenly Tao Business Alliance, and each of them held a high position. Even the Lord of the Immortal Court would treat them with respect. Ling Xiao is related to the Heavenly Tao Business Alliance? A sliver of fear immediately rose in Zhou Yuan's heart. However, when he looked at the sealed item in the distance, his eyes were filled with unwillingness. He was able to sense that there was definitely an incomparably precious treasure hidden within the sealed item. He was filled with unwillingness to hand it over to someone else just like that. Ling Xiao, where did you get the Heavenly Tao token? There are a few dozen Grand Elders in the Heavenly Tao Business Alliance, but I have never heard of you. Zhou Yuan stared at Ling Xiao and asked. Grand Elder Life gave it to me. Ling Xiao said indifferently. Grand Elder Life? Zhou Yuan's body trembled, and his eyes were filled with awe. He naturally knew who Grand Elder Life was. After all, Grand Elder Life Spirit was one of the Grand Elders with the most authority, status, and longevity in the Heavenly Tao Business Alliance. Yet, he had actually personally handed the Heavenly Tao token to Ling Xiao? Thinking of this, Zhou Yuan's fear of Ling Xiao grew even stronger. Let's go, Zhou Yuan said through gritted teeth. Then, he turned around and left with the hundreds of immortal kings. The Heavenly Tao Business Alliance was very powerful. Although he yearned for the treasure in the sealed item, he did not dare to offend the Heavenly Tao Business Alliance. Otherwise, not to mention the Zhou family, even the Great Yen Immortal Court might be in big trouble. In the blink of an eye, Zhou Yuan and the immortal kings of the Great Yen Immortal Court disappeared from this area. Well, I didn't expect you to have the Heavenly Tao token. Could it be that Grand Elder Life saw your extraordinary talent and took you in as his disciple? Di Hongyuan's eyes were filled with curiosity as she looked at Ling Xiao and asked. That has nothing to do with you. Ling Xiao replied faintly before walking towards the sealed item. The sealed item in front of him looked like a stone box with strange patterns on it. It was ancient and mysterious. The experts of the Heavenly Law Business Union had left 9 layers of seals on it. Ling Xiao held the Heavenly Tao token, which emitted a dazzling light, and slowly approached the stone box. Following this, the runes on the stone box glowed brightly as the seals on it began to break apart on their own. In the end, all 9 seals were broken. Ling Xiao opened the stone box, and a dazzling fruit of eternity floated up, releasing a dazzling light. This is actually an eternal fruit. Di Hongwan shuddered and couldn't help but exclaim. She did not expect that the item left behind by the Heavenly Dao Business Alliance would be the eternal fruit. At this moment, even Di Hongwan was tempted when she saw the fruit of eternity. Ling Xiao, how about you give this fruit of eternity to me? Don't worry, I won't take it for free. I'll exchange it with you. Whether it's the Pre-Emperor's treasure technique, Boundary Emperor weapon, precious immortal herbs, or immortal pills. As long as you ask, I'll get it for you. Di Hongwan smiled at Ling Xiao. No. Ling Xiao glanced at her nonchalantly. Di Hongwan was unwilling to give up. She took out all the king-grade immortal herbs, Boundary Emperor weapon, and all sorts of secret techniques, intending to exchange them with Ling Xiao. However, Ling Xiao was unmoved and rejected her without hesitation. If there's nothing else, I'll take my leave. Ling Xiao frowned as he looked at Di Hongwan. Of course. Ling Xiao, I've sensed the location of the Light Immortal Emperor's inheritance. Shall we go and look for the treasures left behind by the Light Immortal Emperor? Di Hongwan was not angry. She smiled at Ling Xiao. After all, the Light Immortal Emperor's inheritance was the most important thing to her. Di Hongwan had the Light Supreme Body, and so did the Light Immortal Emperor. Therefore, the deeper Di Hongwan went into the heavenly ancient battlefield, the more she could feel that a strange place was calling her. The Light Immortal Emperor's inheritance? Ling Zhao's eyes flashed. He nodded and said, sure. Since Di Hongwan said that the Light Immortal Emperor's inheritance was in the depths of the heavenly ancient battlefield, it should not affect his search for the last fruit of eternity. Therefore, Ling Xiao agreed after thinking for a moment. Under Di Hongwan's guidance, Ling Xiao and Di Hongwan went into the depths of the heavenly ancient battlefield. In the depths of the heavenly ancient battlefield, there was an extremely huge abyss where endless dark energy surged out. It was like a black sea, enveloping a radius of several 100,000 kilometers. There was pure dark energy everywhere. There were no signs of life, and the eternal heavenly way's power could not be sensed. There were only endless dark creatures. Above the huge abyss, there was an ancient dark altar. Ancient runes shone brightly on it. On the altar, there were 10 dark creatures with extremely terrifying auras. They were all tens of thousands of feet tall and had different shapes. Some were like humans, some were like demonic beasts, and some were of strange shapes. At this moment, all of them were kneeling on the altar respectfully, as if they were welcoming an extremely noble figure. The light on the dark altar grew brighter and brighter. An extremely dense dark energy gushed out. In the next moment, the void seemed to have been torn apart. Amidst the endless dark energy, a figure with a mysterious aura stepped out. It was a young man in a black robe. His face was handsome and demonic, and his eyes were filled with cold and merciless killing intent. He stood there like the source of the darkness, causing the surrounding void to tremble violently. Greetings, Dark Crown Prince. The 10 powerful dark creatures said at the same time. Their eyes were filled with respect and awe. Rise. Is this the two-realm battlefield? I can already feel that those fat creatures from the immortal realm are exuding an intoxicating aura. Dark Crown Prince said slowly. He took a deep breath, and his eyes were filled with intoxication. Your Highness, we have completed our investigation. This time, the 3 immortal courts of the immortal realm have entered the battlefield. There are a total of more than 20,000 immortal kings. As for the number of quasi-immortal emperors, we don't know. A creature of darkness respectfully reported. This battlefield is restricted by the laws of the 2 realms. It's impossible for quasi-immortal emperors to come here. Therefore, they must be peak immortal kings. They want to find the eternal fruit here and break through to the quasi-immortal emperor realm. However, even if they break through, they'll only be early-stage quasi-immortal emperors. They're only fit to be our food. The Prince of Darkness sneered. Then, his gaze fell on the 10 creatures of darkness in front of him. He said indifferently, Venerables, immediately gather all the undead experts and form an army. I want to wipe out the people of the 3 immortal courts in one fell swoop. Yes, Your Highness. The 10 dark creatures bowed and said. Then, all the dark creatures in this abyss let out earth-shattering cheers. The dark light was dazzling and surging, spreading in all directions. Chapter 3460. What the people of the 3 immortal courts didn't know was that the originally scattered dark creatures had united and even formed a dark army because of the arrival of a mysterious dark prince. The people of the 3 immortal courts were still hunting the creatures of darkness in the heavenly Tao ancient battlefield. At the same time, they were searching for the fruit of eternity and various other treasures. Some people even found the inheritance left behind by ancient experts and obtained supreme opportunities. In the beginning, they were still nervous and vigilant, feeling that there were dangers everywhere in the heavenly ancient battlefield. But after they killed some creatures of darkness, they didn't care too much. Anyway, the creatures of darkness were so weak that they couldn't even withstand a single blow. Therefore, they gradually placed their focus on finding all kinds of treasures and opportunities. They didn't care too much about killing creatures of darkness. At the same time, Ling Xiao and Di Hongwan also came to the depths of the heavenly ancient battlefield. In front of them was an undulating mountain range. It looked like a huge dark dragon lying dormant on the ground, exuding an extremely dense dark aura. Ling Xiao, I can feel that the inheritance place of the Emperor of Light should be in this mountain range. However, the dark energy here is so dense that I'm afraid there are many dark creatures. There might even be quasi-immortal Emperor dark creatures. We must be careful. Di Hongwan said slowly to Ling Xiao. Let's go. If we encounter any dark creatures, we can just kill them all. Ling Xiao's eyes flashed sharply. The sky-devouring sword appeared in his hand. He held the sky-devouring sword in his hand and walked forward. However, what surprised Di Hongwan and Ling Xiao was that they didn't find a single creature of darkness even though the dark energy was extremely dense. What's going on? With such dense darkness energy, there should be creatures of darkness appearing. Why isn't there a single creature of darkness here? Di Hongwan's eyes were full of confusion. Didn't you notice? Logically speaking, the closer we get to the depths of the heavenly ancient battlefield, the closer we are to the lair of the dark creatures. There should be more and more dark creatures. But as we head deeper into the heavenly Tao ancient battlefield, we've discovered fewer and fewer creatures of darkness along the way. Don't you think it's a little strange? Ling Xiao's eyes flashed as he said slowly. You're right. It seems like something has happened to the dark creatures. Otherwise, they're gathering in a secret place and plotting something. Di Hongwan's face turned serious. No matter what they are plotting, it's not something we can know now. Let's find the place of inheritance of the immortal Emperor of Light first. If we can get the inheritance of the immortal Emperor of Light, we'll find a way to investigate the traces of the dark creatures. I heard that most of the powerful Immortal Emperor precious techniques created by the Radiance Immortal Emperor were targeted at the creatures of darkness. If we can obtain his inheritance, it should be of great benefit to us in dealing with the creatures of darkness. Ling Xiao said with a deep gaze. I understand. Follow me. Di Hongwanshan took a deep breath and said slowly. At this point, Di Hongwan's senses became sharper and sharper. She could sense that in the belly of the mountain range before her, there was a vaguely familiar yet unfamiliar power that was attracting her, causing her to continuously walk forward. Di Hongwan led Ling Xiao through the mountains and valleys, entering the belly of the mountain. After walking a few hundred feet into the belly of the mountain, there was no trace of light. They could not even see their own fingers. At this moment, an ancient black stone door appeared in front of them. The black stone door was intertwined with dark runes, and it was filled with the most intense darkness origin. Are you sure this is the place of inheritance of the Radiance Immortal Emperor? Ling Xiao's eyes revealed a strange look. These dark runes were obviously left behind by the creatures of darkness. It was a stretch to say that this was the place of inheritance of the Radiance Immortal Emperor. If it wasn't for the cover of the dark energy, the inheritance of the Radiant's immortal emperor would have fallen into the hands of the creatures of darkness. If you don't believe me, take out the stone statue. Then everything will be clear. Looking at the black stone door in front of her, Di Hongwan seemed a little sad and said in a low voice. Ling Zhao's heart skipped a beat. Light flashed in his palm, and the dark stone statue appeared. Buzz. The dark stone statue trembled slightly and emitted a mysterious light. It floated up from Ling Zhao's palm. Then Ling Xiao and Di Hongwan both saw that the dark runes on the black stone door were emitting an extremely intense dark light. It kept pouring into the dark stone statue. The two types of dark energy intertwined with each other and bloomed with a dazzling light. It lit up the belly of the mountain like it was daytime. In the end, all the dark runes on the black stone door disappeared. The dark energy around it also dissipated. It became as white as jade and sparkled like glass. It was mysterious and unfathomable. At this moment, the stone door had already become dazzling. It contained the eternal heavenly way's origin aura and slowly opened. Let's go! Di Hongwan's eyes were filled with anticipation. Then, she pulled Ling Xiao and directly entered the stone door. Rumble! After they entered the stone door closed again. Behind the stone door, there seemed to be a dazzling world of light. Here, immortal light rose and auspicious air drifted. It was completely different from the scene in the Heavenly Way ancient battlefield. Endless light illuminated this space, turning it into a place of eternal light. In the distant sea of clouds, an ancient staircase snaked up into the air, where the radiant immortal palace floated. Ling Xiao and Di Hongwan slowly lifted their heads and looked at the radiant immortal palace. This radiant immortal palace was ancient and mysterious. They didn't know what kind of immortal metal it was made of, but it exuded an ancient and weathered aura. At this moment, Ling Xiao and Di Hongwan both had a feeling. This radiant immortal palace was the place of inheritance that the radiant immortal emperor had left behind. Let's go! Di Hongwan's eyes were filled with excitement. She stepped onto the winding cloud staircase with Ling Xiao and walked toward the radiant immortal palace. End of chapter. Chapter 3461. The light celestial palace was majestic and majestic. It sat in the chaos and exuded an immortal and eternal aura. Anyone who looked at it would be in awe. Ling Xiao and Di Hongwan walked up the winding stairs. They passed through the sea of clouds and the huge square filled with celestial light and auspicious vapor. They came to the light celestial palace. The two arrived at the light celestial palace. The ancient door was tightly shut. There were strange patterns on it and it gave off a faint light. It looked mysterious. The light celestial palace looked peaceful and was filled with the majesty of an immortal emperor. But for some reason, when Ling Xiao came here, he actually felt a little uneasy. Buzz. At this moment, Ling Xiao suddenly felt the tree of world in his sea of consciousness between his eyebrows tremble slightly. The ripples emitted by the tree of world shocked Ling Xiao. Could it be? Ling Xiao thought to himself. At this moment, Di Hongwan's eyes were filled with excitement and anticipation. Hurry up, take out the statue of the light celestial emperor. Only the statue of the light celestial emperor can open the light celestial palace. Di Hongwan hurriedly said to Ling Xiao. Seeing that Ling Xiao was hesitating, Di Hongwan continued, Don't worry, I only want one treasure in the light celestial palace. Everything else, including the inheritance of the light celestial emperor, is yours. She seemed to think that Ling Xiao was unwilling to take out the statue of the light celestial emperor, so she was a little anxious. Ling Xiao thought for a moment and finally nodded. Light flashed in his palm, and the statue of the light celestial emperor appeared again. Seeing the statue of the light celestial emperor, Di Hongwan took a deep breath. Then, a dazzling radiance blossomed from her body as she activated her sovereign of light physique. Her Taoist connotation intertwined around her, and the laws of nature permeated the air. She looked like a supreme being who had suppressed all eternity. She exuded a majestic and mysterious aura. Buzz. The statue of the light celestial emperor seemed to have sensed the supreme light body on Di Hongluan. It also bloomed with dazzling light. All of a sudden, there seemed to be a wonderful resonance between the stone statue of the immortal emperor of light and Di Hongluan. With a crisp sound, the statue suddenly shattered. A dazzling rune rose from the statue, exuding the vast power of the eternal way of heaven. It slowly flew toward the two doors of the Radiance Immortal Palace. Rumble! The rune fused with the two doors of the Heavenly Palace of Light, making the two doors of the Heavenly Palace of Light burst with dazzling light. Then, with a clear and ancient sound, the two doors slowly opened. From the Radiance Immortal Palace, boundless light gushed out as the vast might of the eternal heavenly Tao permeated the air. It was as though a true supreme immortal emperor was suppressing the ancient times, destroying everything. His aura was terrifying to the extreme. Ling Xiao and Di Hongluan both trembled, and their faces paled. That was the might of an immortal emperor. Ordinary people simply couldn't withstand it. After the Radiance Immortal Palace of Light opened, Di Hongluan and Ling Xiao's eyes revealed a trace of anticipation. Then, they slowly walked into the Radiance Immortal Palace of Light. In the Radiance Immortal Palace of Light, starlight shone and chaotic mist rose. It was like an ocean of light, extremely mysterious and unpredictable. In front of Ling Xiao and Di Hongluan, in the dazzling void, a middle-aged man with a jade-like face and a majestic aura sat cross-legged. He wore a Radiance Emperor's robe and a jade crown on his head. His eyes were tightly shut, as if he was in a deep sleep. However, there was a king's aura that could sweep through the ancient times and dominate the 9 heavens. One look at him and people couldn't help but want to worship him. However, Ling Xiao and Di Hongluan could sense that this middle-aged man had no vitality left. The person sitting cross-legged in front of them was just a corpse. Or it could be called an emperor's corpse. That's right, this person in front of them was the Radiance Immortal Emperor. Di Hongluan's body trembled and shone brightly. She had the supreme radiance body, and her talent was unparalleled throughout the ages. She had the same constitution as the Radiance Immortal Emperor. At this moment, the Radiance Immortal Emperor in front of them seemed to be emitting a dazzling light. He had the same origin as Di Hongluan. That was the original aura of the supreme radiance body. Even though the Radiance Immortal Emperor had died, the Emperor's corpse still had the aura of the supreme radiance body. At the same time, Ling Xiao also noticed that there were 3 mysterious treasures floating above the Radiance Immortal Emperor's head. One was a sword, one was a book, and one was a jade box. The ancient sword was filled with sword qi. It was extremely sharp and contained traces of the eternal way of the heavens. It was obviously not an ordinary item. The book was also intertwined with divine chains of order. Vast Dharma laws rose and Taoist connotation gushed out. It should contain the inheritance of the Radiance Immortal Emperor. It was very likely the legendary Radiance Imperial Sutra. As for the last jade box, although it was filled with dazzling immortal light and auspicious qi, it was very mysterious. No one knew what was inside. However, Ling Xiao knew that although the sword looked extraordinary, it was not the Radiance Immortal Emperor's Eternal Emperor weapon. After all, the Radiance Immortal Emperor's Eternal Emperor weapon had been left in the Radiance Immortal Court. Although the sword was also very extraordinary, it was still far from being an Eternal Emperor weapon. Your descendant, Di Hongluan, pays her respects to the ancestor. Di Hongluan took a deep breath and then respectfully knelt in front of the Radiance Immortal Emperor. She bowed 3 times and kowtowed 9 times with an extremely solemn expression. After she bowed, she stood up and said slowly to Ling Xiao, "Ling Xiao, I only want the jade box. I can give you the sword and the Radiance Imperial Sutra. I can give you the jade box, but can you tell me the origin of these 3 treasures?" Ling Xiao's eyes flashed as he said indifferently. At this moment, all his attention was on the Radiance Immortal Emperor. Since he entered the Radiance Immortal Palace, he had felt an extremely strange aura from the Radiance Immortal Emperor. He had to be extremely vigilant. At the same time, in his sea of consciousness between his eyebrows, The Tree of World was trembling more and more violently. Yes, that sword is also called the Radiant Sword. It has the same origin as the Radiant Sword, the Eternal Emperor weapon of the Radiant's Immortal Court. Back then, the Radiant's Immortal Emperor wanted to refine a second Eternal Emperor weapon, but he died in the Heavenly Dao ancient battlefield before he could succeed. Therefore, this sword can only be regarded as a sword embryo, not a complete Eternal Emperor weapon. However, even if this sword is not a complete Eternal Emperor weapon, its material is a true Supreme Emperor weapon. If you can nourish it with your primordial spirit, when you break through to the Immortal Emperor realm, this sword will definitely be promoted to an Eternal Emperor weapon. Di Hongwan said slowly, her eyes filled with emotions. Chapter 3462. The second treasure is the ancient book. You should have seen it. It's the complete Light Emperor Sutra left by the Light Immortal Emperor. It contains the mystery of the Light Heavenly Way. If you get this ancient book, it's equivalent to you getting the complete inheritance of the Light Immortal Emperor. With this Light Emperor Sutra, you may be able to comprehend the Light Heavenly Way and even break through to the Immortal Emperor realm. Di Hongwan said slowly to Ling Xiao. What about this jade box? What's in it? Ling Xiao asked calmly. Do you really want to know what's in it? Di Hongwan said with a wry smile. You're after this jade box, right? Since you want to take it away, I have the right to know what's in it, right? Ling Xiao said calmly. Seeing Ling Xiao's insistence, Di Hongwan couldn't refuse. Well, I can tell you, but I hope you won't tell anyone else about it. In the jade box is a wisp of the Light Immortal Emperor's remnant soul. The Light Immortal Emperor hasn't really died. As long as you bring this wisp of remnant soul back to the Light Immortal Court, you can help him reincarnate. Di Hongwan said slowly. A wisp of the Light Immortal Emperor's remnant soul? No wonder you don't want any other treasures except this jade box. Ling Xiao nodded as a glint flashed across his eyes. If it was the Light Immortal Emperor's remnant soul, it would be of great use and significance to the Light Immortal Court. As the founder of the Light Immortal Court, the Light Immortal Emperor had suppressed the world with great strength and suppressed an era. If he could be reincarnated, he would be an immortal emperor expert once he fully matured. In comparison, the sword and the Light Emperor Sutra were not so important. After all, the real Eternal Emperor weapon, the Light Sword, and the complete inheritance of the Light Immortal Emperor were in the Light Immortal Court. Can I take this jade cloud away now? Di Hongwan looked at Ling Xiao eagerly and asked. Ling Xiao's eyes flashed and he nodded. He did not immediately take down the sword and the book in the void. Instead, his gaze fell on the corpse of the Light Immortal Emperor in front of him, which was also the source of his uneasiness. He wanted to see what was so strange about the Light Immortal Emperor. Ling Xiao's powerful primordial spirit spread out and slightly probed toward the Radiant's Immortal Emperor. However, at this moment, the Tree of World buzzed and shook violently. The source of the commotion was the jade box in Di Hongwan's hand. Not good, there's something wrong with the jade box. Ling Xiao hurriedly said. However, his words were too late. Di Hongwan's eyes were filled with excitement and joy as she slowly opened the jade box. Boom! Inside the jade box, a blazing light gushed out. In an instant, countless black mists rose, and a cold, dark, and strange aura gushed out from within. A black ghost face, which looked extremely creepy, suddenly pounced on Di Hongwan. Rumble! Immortal light rose around Di Hongwan, and runes intertwined. Dazzling light also shone from between her eyebrows. As the little princess of the Light Immortal Court, Di Hongwan naturally had many defensive treasures. At this moment, when they sensed that Di Hongwan was in danger, they all automatically activated to protect their master. However, those powerful defensive treasures were useless in front of the ghost face, and they were all torn apart. The ghost face turned into a beam of black light and instantly entered Di Hongwan's sea of consciousness between her eyebrows and rushed toward her primordial spirit. Go away! At this moment, light shone from between Di Hongwan's eyebrows, and an ancient and mysterious figure emerged, emitting the vast might of the eternal heavenly emperor, protecting Di Hong Wan's primordial spirit. It was the primordial spirit restriction that the immortal emperor ancestor of the light immortal court had left in Di Hong Wan's sea of consciousness between her eyebrows to prevent others from stealing her primordial spirit. After all, Di Hong Wan had the light sovereign physique, and she was one of the peerless twins of the light immortal court. Since she had left the light immortal court, the immortal emperor ancestor of the light immortal court naturally wouldn't let her be in any danger. You're just a kid who's just become an immortal emperor. You're just a mark. How dare you stop me? The ghostly face sneered. Immediately, it split into black divine chains of order. They contained a power that could corrode and devour everything, and they suddenly wrapped around the figure. The power of the black face was extremely strange and strange. Even though there was a primordial spirit restriction in Di Hong Wan's primordial spirit, those exquisite runes were rapidly weakening, as if they would completely shatter soon. This sudden development was beyond Ling Xiao and Di Hong Wan's expectations. They didn't expect that there would be an extremely powerful dark creature hiding in the jade box, scheming to steal Di Hong Wan's body. Although Ling Xiao had sensed that something was wrong and felt the dark creature's aura, he'd put all his attention on the light immortal emperor. He didn't expect the dark creature to be hiding in the jade box. Now, Di Hong Wan was in a critical moment of life and death. Should I save her? Ling Xiao muttered to himself. He saw that Di Hong Wan's entire body was occupied by dark energy. Only her glabella still emitted a faint but bright light, which seemed to be in danger of being extinguished at any time. If he didn't do anything, Di Hong Wan would be completely stolen by the dark creature in no time. It said that the light immortal emperor died in a great battle with a dark immortal emperor. Could this dark energy be left behind by the dark immortal emperor? Ling Xiao thought to himself. He was only at the peak of the ninth heaven of the immortal king realm. If he rashly fought against a dark immortal emperor, even if it was just a remnant soul, he would be in danger of dying. Therefore, Ling Xiao didn't act rashly. Instead, he activated the world tree in his glabella. The world tree was an origin treasure that could communicate with the eternal heavenly Tao and even nurture a new eternal heavenly Tao. It was extremely precious even in the eternal immortal domain. Even immortal emperors would fight for it if they saw it. Under Ling Xiao's activation, the world tree shone brightly and slowly floated out of his glabella. The world tree was surrounded by chaotic light, as if it had taken root in the chaos. Around it were scenes of the birth and death of 3,000 macro worlds. It looked very strange. With Ling Xiao's activation, a branch of the world tree traversed the void and probed toward Di Hong Wan's sea of consciousness. Chapter 3463. Kaboom! The eerie dark energy around Di Hong Wan actually showed extreme fear after encountering the branches of the world tree. They all dodged in all directions. However, the Tree of World had a strong devouring power. It swallowed the dark energy and turned it into pure immortal spiritual qi, which was absorbed into Ling Xiao's body. As the Tree of World devoured the dark energy around Di Hong Wan grew weaker. The Tree of Worlds branch, which had entered Di Hong Wan's forehead, pierced towards the black face like a sharp spear. Tree of World? Damn it! How can you have the Tree of World? The black-faced man revealed an exasperated look in his eyes, as if he was extremely fearful of Yi Qingyu. Swoosh! In the next moment, dark light rose around the black face. A dark rune appeared, releasing a deep light. It transformed into a small black shield, blocking the Tree of Worlds branch. Boom! The Tree of Worlds branch collided with the shield, producing a metallic sound. However, as the Tree of Worlds branch collided, cracks appeared on the dark shield. It looked like it would shatter at any moment. Faster! The black figure was extremely anxious. It tried its best to erode the primordial spirit prohibition around Di Hong Wan's primordial spirit. It wanted to break it completely and then rush in to devour Di Hong Wan's primordial spirit. Kaboom! The void trembled violently. The black shield was shattered, and the branch of the Tree of World pierced through it. The black figure could not dodge in time. A part of it was instantly pierced and torn off by the Tree of Worlds branch. Then, the part of the black figure that was torn off turned into a puff of smoke and fell off instantly. The dark energy contained in it was instantly devoured by the Tree of World. Kaboom! As if it had sensed the most delicious food, the Tree of World shone brightly. Chaotic light rose. A vast and majestic power seemed to have completely awakened. The branches of the Tree of World entered Di Hongwan's mind at the same time. They formed an inescapable net and suddenly enveloped the black figure. The black figure's face changed drastically. Black light surged around him, turning into streaks of dazzling light. He wanted to cut through all the branches of the World Tree. However, the branches of the Tree of World were extremely sturdy. They were filled with an immortal wave. They seemed to have a natural restraining effect on the dark energy. They suddenly whipped out and shattered all the sword light. Kaboom! The branches of the Tree of World formed an inescapable net. In an instant, the black figure was completely enveloped in it. There was a look of despair in the black shadow's eyes. He suddenly roared, "No! I am darkness, immortal darkness Yinchualuo. How can I die at the hands of an ant? I can't! I can't!" The black figure roared. However, the branch of the Tree of World came crashing down and completely shattered his figure. Then, it extracted the dark energy within and devoured it completely. The black figure's Yinchualuo, 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 Yinchualuo. He had been hiding when he had been Yayanan. Di Hongwan had coincidentally opened the jade box and released him. He had wanted to possess Di Hongwan and leave this place. However, he hadn't expected Ling Xiao to have a supreme treasure like the Tree of World. It seemed to have a natural restraining effect on dark creatures. It easily crushed his remnant soul and devoured it. Yinchualuo was filled with unwillingness and disbelief. After absorbing the remnant soul of darkness, immortal Emperor Yinchualuo, the Tree of World bloomed with dazzling light. It seemed to be nurturing a powerful and mysterious origin in its body. Even the Tree of World's aura skyrocketed, becoming more majestic and powerful. Ling Xiao had a hunch that if he planted the Tree of World in the eternal immortal domains, it would immediately reveal its terrifying body that was billions of miles tall. It would shock the entire eternal immortal domains. After devouring Yinchualuo's remnant soul, Ling Xiao was surprised to see a small flower bloom on one of the branches of the Tree of World. It then gave birth to a strange fruit. The fruit was very small, but it looked extraordinary. There were strange patterns on it, intertwined with Taoist rhymes, and it was slowly growing. At this moment, Di Hongwan, who had been unconscious, slowly woke up. Her eyes were full of fear. "Ling Xiao, thank you for saving me." She looked at Ling Xiao earnestly and said with great sincerity. If Ling Xiao hadn't helped her, she would have been killed by Yinchualuo after the primordial spirit restriction in her sea of consciousness had been completely broken. "You're welcome. However, didn't you say that the remnant soul of the light immortal emperor was in the jade box? Why did it become the remnant soul of darkness immortal emperor Yinchualuo?" Ling Xiao's eyes flashed as he asked indifferently, "I don't know about that. Previously, the remnant soul of the light immortal emperor had sent a message to the light immortal court through a secret channel, telling them where he was. That's why I said that the remnant soul of the light immortal emperor was in the jade box. However, I didn't expect that not only was the remnant soul of the light immortal emperor not in the jade box, but it was also occupied by the remnant soul of the darkness immortal emperor." Di Hongwan said with a bitter smile. Her eyes were filled with fear. Fortunately, Ling Xiao had come with her to the place of inheritance of the light immortal emperor. Otherwise, if she had come alone, she would have been killed by darkness immortal emperor Yinchualuo. If I'm not wrong, the light immortal emperor has died. The so-called remnant soul is just the remnant soul of Yinchualuo. I don't know how he got some means of the light immortal emperor to deceive you. Ling Xiao said slowly, with a trace of emotion in his eyes. At this point, the light immortal emperor in front of them no longer had any vitality or aura. The sense of crisis in Ling Xiao's heart had completely disappeared. Buzz. At this moment, the corpse of the light immortal emperor suddenly burst into a dazzling light, and the corners of his mouth seemed to curl up into a smile. His whole body turned into a bright rain of light and slowly disappeared in front of Ling Xiao and Di Hongluan. Before disappearing, the corners of the light immortal emperor's mouth and eyes revealed a trace of relief. At the place where the light immortal emperor had been sitting cross-legged, there were more than a dozen glittering and translucent eternal fruits. "Those are eternal fruits," Di Hongluan exclaimed, with a look of surprise and joy in her eyes. At the same time, she was also a little sad. The corpse of the light immortal emperor had obviously resolved the knot in his heart, so he chose to transform into Tao. Naturally, she was very sad, but she did not expect the light immortal emperor to leave behind more than a dozen eternal fruits. At this moment, Ling Xiao waved his sleeve and put away the dozen or so eternity fruits. Then he smiled faintly at Di Hongluan and said, "We agreed that the jade box belongs to you, and the other treasures belong to me." Chapter 3464. Di Hongluan's body froze. Her expression became very sad as she looked at Ling Xiao pitifully. "Ling Xiao, brother Ling Xiao, senior Ling Xiao, I beg you. Please give me an eternal fruit. As you can see, there's nothing in the jade box that I want. There's only the remnant soul of the darkness immortal emperor. I almost died at the hands of the remnant soul of the darkness immortal emperor. Can't you have some sympathy for me?" Di Hongluan's eyes were full of resentment. She had planned to break through to the quasi-immortal emperor realm in the heavenly ancient battlefield, but she did not expect that there would be so many eternal fruits in the Radiance Immortal Emperor's land of inheritance. "Your Highness, don't forget that if I hadn't saved you, you would have died at the hands of the Darkness Immortal Emperor. How dare you ask me for an eternal fruit?" Ling Xiao said with a faint smile. Di Hongluan paused. She knew that it was Ling Xiao who had saved her. She was in the wrong to ask Ling Xiao for an eternal fruit. However, this was the place where the Radiance Immortal Emperor had transformed. It was the best place for her to break through to the quasi-immortal Emperor realm. As long as she had an eternal fruit, she could not only break through to the quasi-immortal Emperor realm, but also absorb the power of the Radiance Immortal Emperor's Radiance sovereign body and accumulate more Radiance origin. She did not want to let go of this opportunity. Thinking of this, she gritted her teeth and took out a bright crystal dagger from the storage space. The dagger was filled with powerful and terrifying Radiance Emperor aura. Its aura was extremely powerful, like a real immortal emperor expert. Ling Xiao could not help but tremble. "This is..." Ling Xiao's eyes revealed a trace of shock. "This is a defensive treasure. It seals the power of the Radiance Immortal Court's Immortal Emperor Ancestors attack. Although it can only be activated once, it can kill a peak quasi-immortal emperor expert. This should be enough to exchange for an eternal fruit, right?" Di Hongluan gritted her teeth and said angrily. If not for the fact that she was no match for Ling Xiao, she would have pounced on him and bitten him a few times. This guy did not have any tender feelings for the fairer sex. Such a delicate beauty in front of him asked for an eternal fruit, but he refused? This made Di Hongluan very unhappy. At the same time, she had some doubts. Could it be that she had become so unattractive? The power of an immortal emperor's strike is indeed a good treasure. Ling Xiao's eyes lit up, and he took the crystal dagger without hesitation. He smiled and said, "This fruit of eternity is yours." Ling Xiao took out an eternity fruit and handed it to Di Hongluan. "Ling Xiao, this is the place of inheritance of the Radiance Immortal Emperor. I'm afraid it's also the safest place in the Heavenly Dao ancient battlefield. I plan to cultivate here and break through to the quasi-immortal Emperor realm. What are your plans?" Di Hongluan asked. "I have the same thoughts as you. I also plan to break through to the quasi-immortal Emperor realm." Ling Xiao's eyes flashed as he spoke slowly. Right now, he already had close to 20 eternal fruits, which was enough for him to accumulate an incomparably powerful foundation. Then, he would break through to the quasi-immortal Emperor realm and comprehend the eternal heavenly Dao laws. His foundation and accumulation were enough. Breaking through to the quasi-immortal Emperor realm was just a matter of time. Okay, then let's find a place to cultivate in seclusion. Di Hongwan nodded. Then, she took the eternal fruit and sat down cross-legged at the place where the Radiance Immortal Emperor had transformed. Ling Xiao also found a place to sit cross-legged. However, he did not immediately swallow the eternal fruit to cultivate. Instead, he took out the Shinshan Dao spirit. The Shinshan Dao spirit was a dazzling ball of light that contained a strange spiritual fluctuation. If it was integrated into a weapon or elixir pill, it could improve the grade of the weapon or elixir pill and give birth to an artifact spirit or an elixir spirit. However, Ling Xiao knew that this was the real spirit of the Emperor of Kunwu Mountain. If he wanted to save the Emperor of Kunwu Mountain and make him recall the past and give birth to his spiritual wisdom again, he needed the eternal fruit. Ling Xiao took out an eternal fruit and approached the Shinshan Dao spirit. The Shinshan Dao spirit immediately bloomed with a dazzling light. It buzzed and then emitted a powerful devouring power that instantly swallowed the eternal fruit. The light of the Shinshan Dao spirit became more and more intense, and it emitted a wave of extreme desire. Ling Xiao's heart skipped a beat and he took out another eternal fruit. Just like that, the Shinshan Dao spirit swallowed a total of 3 eternal fruits and became as dazzling as the sun. It emitted a strange Taoist rhyme that caused the surrounding void to tremble slightly. Then, Ling Xiao carefully put it into his sea of consciousness between his eyebrows and placed it on the Tree of World to nourish it with the strange origin of the Tree of World. The Shinshan Dao spirit had already swallowed 3 eternal fruits. It would not be long before the real spirit of the Emperor of Kunwu Mountain was condensed. Ling Xiao's eyes also revealed a trace of anticipation. Back then, the Emperor of Kunwu Mountain sacrificed his life for the Eldritch World and for Ling Xiao. To Ling Xiao, this was the only master he acknowledged. Therefore, Ling Xiao was very excited and expectant to be able to save the Emperor of Kunwu Mountain. Next, I can prepare to break through to the quasi-immortal Emperor realm. Ling Xiao muttered to himself. His eyes were filled with anticipation. Although there was only a difference of 1 realm between a quasi-immortal emperor and an immortal king, it was like the difference between heaven and earth. A quasi-immortal emperor comprehended the power of the eternal heavenly way and condensed the seed of the eternal heavenly way in his body. Not only could the eternal fruit speed up this process, but it could also make the seed of the heavenly way more complete and powerful. Ling Xiao took out an eternity fruit and swallowed it in 1 gulp. After Ling Xiao swallowed the eternal fruit, it instantly bloomed with a dazzling light. Mysterious energy flowed through Ling Xiao's body and slowly took root in his body. Like a seed that fell into fertile soil and took root, the eternal fruit also took root in Ling Xiao's body. The trace of heavenly way's origin power that was nurtured in it bloomed with a dazzling light. Dao connotation filled the air, making Ling Xiao vaguely see the power of the eternal heavenly way. However, it looked extremely blurry. Ling Xiao swallowed another eternal fruit. His body shone with a dazzling light and a mysterious Dao connotation gushed out. His aura also became more and more mysterious and majestic. As Ling Xiao absorbed the second eternal fruit, the vast heavenly way's origin power in his body gathered and gradually condensed into a dazzling ball of light. The ball of light seemed to be nurturing a life force. Through this life force, Ling Xiao seemed to be able to directly communicate with the power of the eternal heavenly way's origin power. That life force was the seed of the heavenly way. Chapter 3465. Rumble. Ling Xiao was surrounded by dazzling immortal light and purple qi. His entire body exuded a mysterious and majestic aura. Flowers of the Tao appeared one after another. His body was flawless, and he exuded a vast origin aura. Although he was in the Heavenly Path ancient battlefield, where the Light Immortal Emperor's inheritance was located, a beam of light still appeared above Ling Xiao's head. It seemed to have pierced through billions of space-time and formed a mysterious connection with the eternal heavenly path of the eternal immortal domain. Ling Xiao had already swallowed more than a dozen eternal fruits. Inside his body, The ball of light was dazzling like the sun, spewing out boundless light. His bones, flesh, meridians, and even his internal organs were all nurtured by the origin energy. They became crystal clear, without any impurities. His aura was also skyrocketing, getting stronger and stronger as if he was about to break through the peak of the ninth heaven of the immortal king realm and enter the half-immortal emperor realm. At the same time, Di Hongluan, who was sitting cross-legged on the other side, was also surrounded by immortal light. She had completely activated the light sovereign. She was like a peerless empress, exuding a majestic and ancient aura. She was like a supreme empress who could swallow the world, a peerless empress who could sweep through the world, making people feel awe and respect. Di Hongluan sat cross-legged where the light immortal emperor had transformed. The light immortal emperor also had the light sovereign. Although he had completely disappeared from the world, the light sovereign's origin energy had not completely dissipated. At this moment, after sensing Di Hongluan's light sovereign, it surged over and merged into Di Hongluan's body. Crack! A crisp sound rang out. Di Hongluan also broke through the limit of the immortal king realm and broke through to the half-immortal emperor realm. Rumble! At the same time, above the light immortal palace, lightning surged and the void shook. Bolts of lightning were as thick as chaotic mountains, exuding a destructive aura. In the endless lightning, a purple eye appeared. It was incomparably cold and emotionless, only pure anger and destructive aura. It completely locked onto Ling Xiao and Di Hongluan below. This was the great tribulation of the heavenly path. If one wanted to break through to the half-immortal emperor realm, they had to go through it. The power of the great tribulation of the heavenly path came from the eternal heavenly path. Only by going through the great tribulation of the heavenly path could the seed of the heavenly path in one's body and break through to the half-immortal emperor realm. Therefore, the great tribulation of the heavenly path came the great tribulation of the heavenly path. Even the heavenly path, the great tribulation of the heavenly path, of the tribulation of the heavenly path by immortal emperor realm. Boom! The void in all directions seemed to have been completely destroyed. Chaotic fog filled the air. Bolts of lightning surged and fell from the nine heavens, completely enveloping Ling Xiao and Di Hongluan. By the ding by immortal. Immortal, the abiding of the immortals of the world. Of the immortal emperor realm. The purple light of destruction was formless and formless. It did not seem to have any effect on Ling Xiao's body. However, it entered his body in an instant and headed towards the dazzling light. That was the seed of the heavenly Tao that was about to be born. The purple divine light wanted to completely destroy the seed of the heavenly Tao. Rumble! The purple divine light blasted onto the ball of light and exploded within Ling Xiao's body. Terrifying fluctuations spread out in all directions, causing the dazzling halo to tremble slightly. The purple energy seemed to have entered the seed and continuously bombarded the seed of the heavenly path. Is this the great tribulation of the heavenly Tao? It's actually only targeting the heavenly Tao seed in my body. However, I've gathered all my mental strength with the seed of heavenly Tao. If the seed of heavenly Tao is destroyed, I'm dead for sure. Ling Xiao's eyes flashed as he thought to himself. The great tribulation of the heavenly Tao was also a tribulation to prove one's Tao. If one wanted to break through to the quasi-immortal emperor realm, then the seed of the heavenly Tao within one's body had to be tempered by the great tribulation of the heavenly Tao. Only then would it be able to condense a trace of the eternal heavenly Tao's quintessence energy and communicate with the eternal heavenly Tao, allowing one to control the eternal heavenly Tao's quintessence energy at any time and erupt with a combat strength that far surpassed a peak ninth heaven immortal king realm expert. That purple eye seemed to be the true form of the eternal heavenly Tao, and it contained an incomparably terrifying destructive power. Streaks of purple destructive divine light shrouded Ling Xiao and Di Hongluan. At the same time, mysterious scenes of chaos fiend gods and immortal beasts howling and howling filled the air around them. All sorts of phenomena fused into their consciousness, as if trying to tear their souls to shreds. Ling Xiao sat cross-legged in space. His soul was clear, and his body was flawless. His body emanated a mysterious and resplendent radiance, causing the surrounding space to tremble slightly. He had swallowed more than a dozen eternal fruits, and his accumulation and foundation had reached an extremely high level. Although the great tribulation of heaven and earth was extremely terrifying, the apocalyptic divine light did not pose any threat to the seed of heaven's way in his body. On the contrary, the seed of the heavenly way in Ling Zhao's body became even more dazzling under the refinement of the apocalyptic divine light. Ling Zhao could feel that his strength seemed to have increased by several times or even tens of times in an instant. Every move he made could draw upon the might of the heavens, and his aura was terrifying to the extreme. The tempering of the great tribulation of heaven and earth made Ling Zhao's aura stronger and stronger. Di Hongwan was the same. She radiated a mysterious and resplendent radiance, as if she was the embodiment of the origin of light, mysterious and majestic. The great tribulation of heaven and earth was extremely dangerous to others, but to Ling Zhao and Di Hongwan, it was not dangerous at all. It was like an ordinary trial. Before long, the great tribulation of heaven and earth slowly dissipated. Rumble! Ling Zhao's body instantly emitted boundless light, and a mysterious and powerful aura exploded. His eyes were resplendent and bright, and he radiated a vast might of the heavens. Ling Zhao slowly opened his eyes and then stood up. An invincible fate chi spread out, making him look like a supreme emperor, radiating an endless majestic aura. Ling Zhao's cultivation had finally broken through to the half-immortal emperor realm. At the moment, his entire body contained boundless power, and his strength had increased by more than 10 times compared to before. The seed of the heavenly way had already taken root in Ling Zhao's body, and it had merged with his primordial spirit and body. It was constantly extracting the origin of heavenly way from the void to strengthen itself. As the seed of the heavenly way grew stronger, it would eventually break out of the ground and grow into a towering tree, condensing a complete eternal heavenly way. At that time, Ling Zhao would be invincible as a righteous immortal emperor. Ling Zhao now had a feeling that even if a half-immortal emperor appeared before him, he could kill him with one punch. End of chapter. Chapter 3466. Ling Zhao was surrounded by chaotic immortal light. Auspicious qi rose from him, giving off an indescribable heavenly might. His face was handsome and elegant, and his eyes were bright and resplendent. There seemed to be a mysterious scene of the creation of the world and the destruction of heaven and earth in his eyes. At this moment, Ling Zhao vaguely felt that there was an eternal heavenly river above the eternal heavenly way. It contained boundless immortal power. Ling Zhao's primordial spirit and true spirit were only slowly imprinted on the heavenly river, leaving a mark of his own. He could communicate with that mark at any time, and then explode with a supreme power that could destroy heaven and earth. Is this a quasi-immortal emperor? A quasi-immortal emperor imprinted his primordial spirit and true spirit on the eternal heavenly way and used it to mobilize the eternal heavenly way's power. Then, does a real immortal emperor merge his primordial spirit with the eternal heavenly way? Ling Zhao thought to himself. He vaguely seemed to have glimpsed the supreme great Tao of breaking through to the immortal emperor realm. Rumble! At this moment, blazing immortal light bloomed in the distance. Endless light rose, and the shadows of mysterious immortal beasts appeared. True dragons, true phoenixes, Shilants, and all kinds of immortal beasts were worshipping one of the figures that faintly appeared. The figure was dazzling and peerless. Her face was extremely beautiful, and she was tall and slender. Her entire body exuded a graceful and noble aura of a ruler. She also had the aura of an emperor that could sweep the world and devour everything. She was clearly a peerless supreme empress. It's Di Hongwan. Ling Zhao's eyes flashed with light. Di Hongwan had also broken through to the quasi-immortal emperor realm. She seemed to have become the embodiment of light. Endless light energy rose around her, and the power of the light sovereign physique was completely activated. Her entire body exuded a mysterious aura. Di Hongwan slowly opened her eyes. Two beams of immortal light shot out from her eyes, piercing through the void. She looked majestic and mysterious. I broke through. Di Hongwan's eyes were filled with excitement. She had broken through to the quasi-immortal emperor realm, but compared to her breakthrough, what made her even more excited was that her light sovereign physique had completely recovered. Now, she had completely mastered the power of the sovereign of light physique, unlike before when she could only control a trace of the sovereign of light physique. After absorbing the light immortal emperor's Tao-transforming power of origin, her strength had increased by more than 10 times, or even 100 times. Di Hongwan's eyes were filled with eagerness as she felt the boundless power surging out of her body. Ling Xiao, take this. Di Hongwan looked at Ling Xiao and said in a clear voice. She immediately punched Ling Xiao. Her silvery white palm suddenly emitted an infinite amount of light, and a great light celestial seal bloomed. It was like a vast and majestic divine light mountain, mightily pressing down on Ling Xiao. Ling Xiao's eyes flashed. He could immediately feel the terrifying power contained in this punch. Without any hesitation, he threw out a punch as well. Inside Ling Xiao's fist imprint seemed to contain the two kinds of power of creation and destruction intertwined, the aura incomparably terrifying. Boom! Ling Xiao's fist imprint collided with Di Hongwan's great light celestial seal. In an instant, the void trembled violently, as if it was about to be shattered at any time. In the end, the great light celestial seal was the first to shatter. Di Hongwan seemed to feel that Ling Xiao had transformed into an immortal supreme emperor. She actually felt a sense of panic and was suddenly sent flying. Ling Xiao, you are indeed worthy of being able to suppress defying heaven and my grandfather on the origin heaven Dao steel. Di Hongwan's eyes sparkled as she looked at Ling Xiao in front of her with interest. Stop fooling around. We can't stay here for long. Let's leave quickly. Ling Xiao's eyes flashed. He suddenly had a sense of uneasiness as he spoke to Di Hongwan with a serious expression. Okay, let's go. Since I have a breakthrough in my cultivation, let's go hunt some quasi-immortal emperors of the dark creatures and show them the power of light. Di Hongwan's eyes were filled with eagerness. Then Ling Xiao and Di Hongwan turned into two dazzling rays of light and instantly flew out of the light celestial palace. This time, Ling Xiao had gained a lot in the light celestial emperor's land of inheritance. Not only had his cultivation broken through to the quasi-immortal emperor realm, but he had also obtained the light celestial emperor's inheritance. The complete light emperor's sutra had been imprinted in his mind, and he had even obtained the power of the light heavenly way. Therefore, he could recognize that the great light celestial seal that Di Hongwan had just used was a supreme emperor technique recorded in the Light Emperor Sutra. The light celestial emperor's strength was extraordinary, and the emperor technique recorded in the Light Heart Sutra was also very powerful and contained the power of light. Ling Xiao also discovered that the power of light seemed to have an extremely strong restraining effect on the dark creatures. This was why the dark celestial emperor, Indra, had risked everything to perish together with the light celestial emperor. He had sensed that the power of light was too great a threat to the dark creatures. Ling Xiao and Di Hongwan left the light celestial emperor's land of inheritance and appeared in a barren mountain range. However, the heavenly Dao ancient battlefield in front of them seemed to have changed color. Above them was a blood-red sky, and the ground was filled with endless dark energy. The dark energy was extremely dense, and there was a powerful army of dark creatures everywhere. The dark creatures should have been hiding in this ancient battlefield, waiting to be hunted down by the three immortal courts. But now, they had formed an army of dark creatures, and they were charging forward like a tidal wave. In the distance, war cries and angry roars rang out incessantly. Dazzling immortal light exploded. This was the power of an immortal king's self-detonation. Everything within 10,000 miles was reduced to dust, and countless dark creatures were killed at the same time. However, to the dark creatures' army, the self-detonation of an immortal king was nothing more than a drop of water. It had nothing to do with the battle at all, and the dark creatures' army was quickly drowned out. What's going on? Why are there so many dark creatures' army? Di Hongwan cried out in alarm. Both her and Ling Xiao's expressions turned grave. Those are two traitors of the eternal immortal domain. Kill them. At this moment, a group of dark creatures' army passing by suddenly noticed Ling Xiao and Di Hongwan. The leader of the dark creatures' army was a commander. Murderous intent surged in his eyes, and blood-red light flashed. He led the dark creatures' army to attack Ling Xiao and Di Hongwan. Ling Xiao's eyes flashed coldly and he punched out. Ling Xiao's fist contained a terrifying power that could destroy heaven and earth. Its aura was incomparably terrifying. Boom! Ling Xiao's fist mark blossomed in the sky, turning into an ancient divine mountain, and came crashing down majestically. The immortal King Dark Creature's army and the Dark Creature's army below were reduced to dust in an instant. Chapter 3467. The violent shockwaves from the battle immediately drew the attention of the army of dark creatures further away. Soon, many dark creatures with powerful auras pounced on Ling Xiao and Di Hongwan. Let's kill our way out and meet up with the immortal Court of Fortune. Something big must have happened in the Heavenly Dao ancient battlefield. Ling Xiao's eyes flashed as he spoke slowly to Di Hongwan. All right. Di Hongwan's expression was solemn and stern. Kill these traitors of the eternal immortal domain. Don't let them escape. These traitors deserve to die. Set up the formation. Everyone attack together. These two are very strong. Don't be careless. Countless dark creatures in the distance roared angrily and charged at Ling Xiao and Di Hongwan. Rumble! The void shook violently as Ling Xiao and Di Hongwan pierced through the heavens like two dazzling beams of light. Incomparably fierce attacks landed on the army of the dark creatures. Both of them had broken through to the quasi-immortal Emperor realm and were very strong. Now that they attacked, they killed a large number of dark creatures in an instant and pierced through the army of dark creatures. Ling Xiao's fists were like dragons, and each punch was like a chaotic divine realm crashing down. He slaughtered the army of dark creatures. Not only were those dark creatures unable to cause any harm to him, but they were also reduced to dust by his invincible fist mark. Di Hongwan's body blossomed with boundless light that filled the area for thousands of miles. She used a supreme forbidden technique, and immediately, all the creatures of darkness within a range of 10,000 kilometers melted like snow under the endless light. Their eyes were filled with great terror, and they did not even have the time to cry out. Di Hongwan's light sovereign physique allowed her to communicate with the power of the heavenly Tao of light. As for the power of light, it was extremely destructive to the creatures of darkness. Rumble! At this moment, a figure with a terrifying aura tore through the endless darkness and descended from the distance. It was a dark creature tens of thousands of feet tall. His eyes were like blood moons, and his entire body was filled with an extremely cold aura. He was like the Dark Emperor, appearing in the army of the dark creatures, instantly causing endless cheers. Moreover, boundless dark energy was gushing out from his body, spreading in all directions as if it was going to erode all life. Di Hongwan's eyes flashed. She realized that it was a dark half-immortal emperor. He was extremely strong, at least at the fifth sky of the half-immortal emperor layer. He was much stronger than Ling Xiao and Di Hongwan who had just broken through. However, there was no fear in Ling Xiao and Di Hongwan's eyes. Instead, they were filled with strong battle intent. Ling Xiao, why don't you let me deal with this dark half-immortal emperor? You'll hold the line for me? Di Hongwan said eagerly. All right, but make it quick. I can sense that this army of darkness is only the vanguard. There are even more powerful creatures of darkness behind them. Ling Xiao's eyes flashed as he spoke slowly. Don't worry. Di Hongwan smiled faintly. Dazzling light bloomed around her. A crystal-like radiant immortal sword appeared in her palm. It was the sword she had obtained from the radiant immortal emperor's inheritance ground. However, this sword could explode with even more power in Di Hongwan's hands, so Ling Xiao lent it to her for the time being. With the radiant immortal sword in hand, the light around Di Hongwan grew stronger. She struck out with her sword. It was like a dazzling starlight that split the sky and earth apart. It instantly broke through the darkness and lit up the world. The dark half-immortal emperor's eyes were extremely cold. At this moment, he felt the light around Di Hongluan and instantly revealed a monstrous killing intent. You're actually a remnant of light? You're courting death. The dark half-immortal emperor's eyes were filled with killing intent. He struck out with his palm toward Di Hongluan. That palm covered the sky and earth. Endless dark light gathered and turned into countless weapons like sabers, spears, swords, halberds, and so on. It attacked Di Hongluan like a storm of divine weapons. Rumble. Di Hongluan held the radiant immortal sword. She was surrounded by ethereal immortal light and sword chi. She struck out with her sword and countless strands of light sword chi ripped through the sky, completely shattering the dark storm of weapons. The sharp sword chi fell and turned into billions of crisscrossing divine light. In an instant, countless dark creatures died and were directly melted by the light power. Di Hongluan held the radiant immortal sword and slashed down toward the dark half-immortal emperor. The dark half-immortal emperor's eyes were extremely cold. He seemed to have sensed that Di Hongluan was not to be trifled with. A huge dark spiked mace appeared in his hand and flew towards Di Hongluan. Rumble. The sword chi and the mace collided, causing the void all around to tremble violently. Endless divine light swept out, and the incomparably sturdy wolf-tooth mace was like tofu under the radiant immortal sword. It was instantly cut into pieces. Di Hongluan held the radiant immortal sword. Her eyes were extremely cold as if she had transformed into a peerless empress. Her aura was terrifying and powerful. After shattering the spiked club, she took advantage of the dark quasi-immortal emperor's shock to slash down with her sword and instantly cut off one of his arms. In an instant, endless dark energy gushed out and surged toward Di Hongluan. It was as if it wanted to completely turn her into a dark puppet. However, the endless light power around Di Hongluan seemed to be the nemesis of the dark energy. It melted the dark light. You're courting death. The dark half-immortal emperor was in pain. His eyes were filled with shock and anger. Boundless dark light gathered in his palm, as if it had transformed into a dark divine dragon in an instant. At the same time, dark chains rose from behind him as if they could seal everything. In an instant, they covered the sky and covered the earth. They were like a huge net that was about to envelop Di Hongluan. Kill! Di Hongluan's eyes were incomparably cold. Her sword chi swept out. Every slash of the sword was able to break through the endless darkness. Although the dark divine dragon was ferocious and was not afraid of the light power, it was still destroyed by the radiant immortal sword. However, those dark chains seemed to be made of some special material. They were not afraid of the light power at all. They were densely packed in the void. Although Di Hongluan had cut off a few of them, there were still many dark chains that were like tentacles that locked Di Hongluan's hands and legs. Die! The dark half-immortal emperor's eyes were filled with triumph. He suddenly punched out. That punch was extremely terrifying. It was as if it was going to shatter Di Hongluan's heart. Her entire body was going to explode into dust. At this moment, a dazzling chaotic sword light bloomed. It seemed to contain the endless power of the world and the origin of all living things. It mightily slashed toward the dark half-immortal emperor. This sword light was so fast that even the dark quasi-immortal emperor didn't have time to react before he was cut in half by Ling Zhao's sword. Even his dark primordial spirit was completely destroyed. A powerful dark half-immortal emperor had completely fallen. Chapter 3468. A powerful dark half-immortal emperor was killed by Ling Zhao with a single strike. Di Hongluan was shocked, and her eyes were filled with disbelief. She had fought with the dark half-immortal emperor before, so she knew how powerful he was. Even though she possessed the light sovereign physique and possessed unparalleled strength, it would take some time for her to take down the dark half-immortal emperor. However, the powerful dark half-immortal emperor was so weak in front of Ling Zhao. He was killed by Ling Zhao with a single strike. Di Hongluan was stunned for a long time before she came back to her senses. Then she looked at Ling Zhao angrily and said, Ling Xiao, I told you to leave the dark half-immortal emperor to me. Why did you attack him? Di Hongwan was so angry that she wanted to pounce on Ling Xiao and bite him. Cut the crap. I already feel that Prince Li Wuji of the Creation Immortal Court is in danger. Let's hurry over. Ling Xiao said solemnly as he looked at the boundless dark army in the distance. Okay. Di Hongwan's expression also became serious. After all, they were on the Creation Immortal Court's side. If Prince Li Wuji of the Creation Immortal Court died here, it would not do them any good. After the Dark Quasi-Immortal Emperor was killed by Ling Xiao, the rest of the Dark Army fled in all directions like birds and beasts. At the same time, Ling Xiao and Di Hongwan also felt that there was an even more powerful aura coming toward them. Ling Xiao and Di Hongwan instantly leaped up and teleported into the distance. The Dark Army here was endless, surging like waves. If they stayed here, they would only fall into the Dark Army and might even attract more powerful Dark Half-Immortal Emperors. Ling Xiao and Di Hongwan decided to find the Creation Immortal Court's people and meet up with Prince Li Wuji before making any plans. Ling Xiao and Di Hongwan were extremely fast. They traversed the void and instantly teleported hundreds of thousands of miles. These millions of kilometers of land were all occupied by the Dark Race Army. The dark energy, the monstrous killing intent, and the endless strange aura made Di Hongwan's scalp tingle even though she had broken through to the half-immortal emperor realm. There were too many. There was no end to the army of darkness, and it was impossible to say how many millions upon millions of experts there were. Were they really going to invade the eternal immortal domains? Di Hongwan's expression became more and more serious. Rumble. The heavens and earth trembled violently. In the distance, there were a few figures with terrifying auras that emitted endless dark aura. They were a group of powerful dark creatures. This was especially so for the three figures in the lead. Their auras pierced through the heavens and earth, filled with towering killing intent. They were three powerful darkness quasi-immortal emperors. Immortal light shone dazzlingly as the experts of the eternal immortal domains fought with everything they had, their eyes filled with shock and fury. Crown Prince Li Wuji and Second Prince Li Wushuang were among them. They led thousands of immortal kings and set up a powerful defensive immortal formation, blocking the countless powerful dark creatures outside. Crown Prince Li Wuji and Second Prince Li Wushuang had also broken through to the half-immortal emperor realm. Their foundations were immeasurably deep to begin with. If not for the trial in the Heavenly Dao ancient battlefield, they would have broken through to the half-immortal emperor realm long ago. Under their leadership, the immortal kings of the Immortal Court of Fortune were engaged in a bloody battle with the army of darkness. However, the current situation was very unfavorable for the Immortal Court of Fortune. Although the Immortal Court of Fortune had thousands of immortal kings, they had formed a powerful immortal formation. All sorts of divine abilities, immortal arts, and immortal weapons were used to suppress the army of darkness, killing large swathes of them. However, there were simply too many dark creatures around them. Who knew how many billions of them there were? They were like a black swarm of ants that didn't fear death. As for the dark creatures that were killed, they all turned into extremely pure dark energy and poured into the bodies of the three dark quasi-immortal emperors, making their auras stronger and stronger. The three half-immortal emperors were incredibly powerful. They kept attacking Li Wushuang and Li Wuji, putting them at a disadvantage. After all, the Crown Prince and Second Prince Li Wushuang had only recently broken through to the half-immortal emperor realm. As for the three half-immortal emperors, they were all incredibly powerful. Even the weakest one was at the third heaven of the half-immortal emperor realm. The most powerful one was at the sixth heaven of the half-immortal emperor realm. They were incredibly powerful. All sorts of powerful dark divine abilities were used to suppress Li Wushuang and Li Wuji. At the same time, the incomparably dense dark energy was constantly invading their space, trying to turn them into dark puppets. Rumble. The gigantic immortal formation formed a super enchantment. The enchantment shone with resplendent light, and auspicious chi rose from it. Numerous divine chains of order formed a powerful defensive force, protecting the numerous immortal kings within. However, under the powerful attacks of the three dark quasi-immortal emperors and the impact of the countless dark creatures around them, the boundary with ethereal immortal light trembled violently, as if it would collapse at any time. As for those immortal kings, their eyes were filled with incomparable fear. Once the boundary was completely destroyed, they would be completely overwhelmed by the dark creatures even if they were extremely powerful. At that time, the best outcome for them would be to die in battle. They might even be invaded by the dark energy and turn into dark puppets that were neither human nor ghost. Right at this moment, the barrier trembled violently, and a corner of it was actually blasted open by a single punch from that formidable darkness quasi-immortal emperor. After that, he stretched out his hand and grabbed, and a few dozen immortal kings were pulled out from within. The half-immortal emperor's eyes were extremely cold. He opened his black mouth and threw the dozens of immortal kings into his mouth. Then he swallowed them in one gulp. Such a bloody devouring caused many immortal kings to turn incomparably pale. Their eyes were filled with incomparable despair. The army of dark creatures continued to attack the boundary from the gap. Several immortal kings were caught off guard and were severely injured. Moreover, they were invaded by the dark energy and were about to turn into puppets. Their eyes were filled with determination. They instantly rushed into the army of dark creatures and detonated their immortal king bodies. The terrifying explosion instantly swept across a radius of tens of thousands of miles. Countless dark creatures were blown into pure dark energy. Corpses and bones flew everywhere. For a time, there were broken limbs everywhere. This area seemed to have turned into a Jura hell. Chapter 3469. Li Wuji, I wasn't convinced. In terms of talent and skill, you're no match for me. What makes you the crown prince of the immortal court of fortune? I'm just a mere prince. Only I am worthy of being called the crown prince of the fortune immortal court. I am worthy of inheriting the will of the fortune immortal emperor and becoming the emperor lord of the fortune immortal court. I will lead the fortune immortal court and restore the glory of our ancestors. The longevity bone in front of second prince Li Wushuang's chest emitted a dazzling radiance. He punched the dark quasi-immortal emperor in front of him and forced him back. Then he stared at Li Wuji and said slowly, "However, today, I discovered that our dispute is so laughable. Compared to the undying hatred between the eternal immortal domains and the creatures of darkness, our quarrel is insignificant. If I don't die today, I'll give you the position of crown prince. I will pursue the supreme Tao and become an immortal emperor. Then I'll sweep through the world and suppress the darkness. That is my ambition." The second prince stared at Li Wuji with a complicated expression, but his eyes were bright and resplendent. "What's the point of saying so much? I'm afraid you and I won't be able to escape today. We've fought for so long, but who would have thought that we'd be buried in the ancient battlefield of the heavenly Tao today? It seems fate really does make fools of us." Li Wuji coughed up a mouthful of blood. His face was pale as he smiled bitterly. Although he had broken through to the half-immortal emperor realm, he still felt a deep sense of helplessness when facing the two half-immortal emperors. He was completely suppressed. But he had the honor of being the crown prince of the immortal court of fortune. He wasn't willing to die here. Therefore, he unleashed all sorts of powerful means and forbidden arts, launching an extremely intense battle against the two darkness quasi-immortal emperors before him. There were actually signs that he was about to reverse the situation. The longevity bone in front of second prince Li Wushuang's chest shone with dazzling light. It allowed Li Wushuang to use the eternal heavenly Tao to fight against the sixth heavenly layer quasi-immortal emperor. Li Wushuang's body was covered in golden blood, and he seemed to have suffered unimaginable injuries. But his eyes shone brighter than ever. Despite being suppressed, his will to fight only grew stronger. "Li Wuji, I've never accepted you before. But today, you and I will fight together. I'm willing to call you Big Brother. If he died here today, everything would be over. If I can escape, then I, Li Wushuang, will naturally be invincible." Li Wushuang laughed out loud. His voice was filled with boundless heroism and passion. Hearing Li Wushuang call him Big Brother, Li Wuji couldn't help but tremble. His gaze became extremely complicated. It had been many years since Li Wushuang called him Big Brother. The two of them had been fighting to the death, scheming against each other for the position of the crown prince of the immortal court. Who would have thought that they would fight side by side in the heavenly Dao ancient battlefield? Crown Prince Li Wuji took a deep breath. His eyes flashed with madness as he shouted, "Then let's fight. Even if I die, I will drag a few of them down with me." His eyes were filled with determination. The aura around him blazed even brighter. His battle prowess seemed to have increased by several times as he fearlessly charged towards the two dark quasi-immortal emperors. Rumble! At this moment, one of the dark quasi-immortal emperors suddenly blocked Crown Prince Li Wuji's path. Then, under Crown Prince Li Wuji's furious gaze, an incomparably dark fist mark bloomed on the immortal light boundary. Crack! An incomparably crisp sound rang out. Countless runes shattered, and the immortal light barrier exploded with a loud bang, turning into a resplendent light shadow. The eyes of the dark creatures were filled with incomparably cold killing intent and bloodthirsty cruelty. They charged towards the immortal kings like a tide. At this moment, the eyes of the immortal kings of the Fortune Immortal Court were filled with despair. Rumble! However, at this moment, endless chaotic light shone in the distance. A mighty chaotic fist print seemed to break through the void in an instant, turning into a chaotic divine mountain that was billions of kilometers tall. It contained the life force of the infinite world as it pressed down mightily. In an instant, the earth trembled violently, and countless dark creatures were turned into dust. The dark divine mountain seemed to be blocking in front of everyone, blocking the attack of the army of dark creatures. Above the 9 heavens, a figure with an incomparably terrifying aura swept across the sky and turned into a mysterious and powerful young man in white. In his eyes, there seemed to be a strange scene of the sun and moon revolving, and the birth and death of the world. Who else could it be but Ling Xiao? At the same time, there was a dazzling beam of sword chi slashing down from the 9 heavens. The sword light was vast and mighty, like a river of stars, containing endless killing intent. It enveloped the 3 darkness quasi-immortal emperors, wanting to kill them. Who's there? The dark quasi-immortal emperors were shocked and angry, and they roared. The 3 dark quasi-immortal emperors immediately gave up on Li Wuji and Li Wushuang, and punched out at the same time. It turned into 3 dark fist marks, carrying endless dark energy, and rushed towards the light sword chi. Rumble! The 3 dark fist marks, carrying endless dark energy, collided violently with the light sword chi, shaking the void and shattering the heaven and earth. In the end, the 3 dark fist marks were completely destroyed. The radiant sword chi exploded in a single moment as well. It turned into countless streaks of radiant sword chi that descended from the heavens, killing all the creatures of darkness within a radius of 100,000 kilometers. Di Hongwan was like a peerless empress, with an extraordinary temperament and peerless beauty. She descended from the 9 heavens with the radiant celestial sword in her hand and stood beside Ling Xiao. "It's Senior Ling Xiao and Princess Di Hongwan?" Li Wuji exclaimed. His eyes were filled with surprise and joy. Li Wushuang also looked at Ling Xiao with a complicated expression. He had always regarded Li Wuji as an enemy, so naturally he also regarded Ling Xiao as an enemy. However, he did not expect Ling Xiao to be the one who saved him in the end. "Are you all okay?" Ling Xiao looked at everyone and asked indifferently. "We're fine. Thank you, Senior Ling Xiao. If it weren't for you and Princess Di Hongwan, I'm afraid we wouldn't be able to escape today." Li Wuji smiled bitterly. "Ling Xiao, why don't we have a competition? Leave these 2 dark quasi-immortal emperors to me, and I'll leave the strongest one to you. Let's see who can kill him first." Di Hongwan looked at Ling Xiao eagerly and said, "Sure, if you lose, you'll be my maid." Ling Xiao glanced at Di Hongwan and said, "How dare you?" Di Hongwan was furious, but she suddenly smiled and said, "Sure, but if you lose, you'll be my guard." "Sure, but you'll lose for sure." Ling Xiao smiled indifferently. His gaze fell on the sixth sky of the quasi-immortal Emperor Realm expert. His eyes were filled with cold, killing intent. Chapter 3470. Rumble. In the void, a blazing light bloomed. Di Hong Luan's body shone brightly, and the surrounding void trembled rapidly. In her palm, the radiant immortal sword shone brightly, and in an instant, it soared into the sky and slashed down towards the two dark half-immortal emperors. "You're courting death." The two dark half-immortal emperors' eyes flashed with murderous intent. They actually felt a deep threat from Di Hong Luan, and their murderous intent grew stronger. Light was the nemesis of darkness. They felt that Di Hong Luan was their fated enemy, so they didn't show any mercy. Rumble. One of the dark half-immortal emperors took out a black spear. The spear light pierced through the void, and contained an extremely powerful devouring power. In an instant, billions of spear lights were formed, and they enveloped Di Hong Luan. The other dark half-immortal emperor took out a large black net in his palm, and it swept across the void like an inescapable net. Black chains of darkness crisscrossed the air, trying to trap Di Hong Luan within. The two dark half-immortal emperors used their most powerful killing techniques, as if they wanted to kill Di Hong Luan directly. A bolt of dark lightning bloomed. The most powerful dark quasi-immortal emperor released a beam of dark destructive divine light from his palm, which instantly enveloped Di Hong Luan. Di Hong Luan's light aura seemed to attract all the dark creatures in an instant. Everyone treated her as their fated enemy. The three dark half-immortal emperors attacked her at the same time. Swoosh! A dazzling sword light soared across the sky, and in an instant, it completely crushed the dark destructive light. Ling Zhao's figure flashed, and like a dazzling lightning, he instantly blocked in front of the strongest dark half-immortal emperor. He said indifferently, "Your opponent is me. You're courting death." The dark half-immortal emperor's eyes were filled with murderous intent. He was a sixth heaven half-immortal emperor expert, while Ling Xiao had just broken through to the half-immortal emperor realm. In his opinion, Ling Xiao could be easily killed. He soared across the sky, and with a pull of his hands, a dark battle saber appeared. The saber light was blazing, and it contained a terrifying power that could destroy all life. It slashed down towards Ling Xiao. Rumble. The surrounding space trembled violently. The blade of darkness devoured all life. It contained the power of great destruction and destruction. At the same time, it could cleanse one's soul and erase one's intelligence. It was terrifying to the extreme. Just the aftermath of the battle made Crown Prince Li Wuji and Second Prince Li Wushuang's expression change drastically. Their eyes were filled with worry. Could Ling Xiao stop this dark quasi-immortal emperor? Ling Zhao's eyes shone brightly in the face of the domineering and all-annihilating supreme blade light. Blazing immortal light exploded and endless chaotic light gushed out. The heaven-devouring sword in his hand buzzed and vibrated, letting out a sword cry that it yearned for. The strength of the dark quasi-immortal emperor also made Ling Zhao's heart burst with an incomparably powerful battle intent. The sky-devouring sword seemed to know what its master was thinking. It slashed out and a sharp sword light instantly pierced through billions of voids and slashed at the blade light. That sword also contained destruction, but it also seemed to be the origin of all things, the end of all life, the end of all worlds. That sword broke through time and space, annihilated life and death, and shattered the heavens. A mysterious power spread out. This was the Origin Sword, the supreme emperor art created by the Origin Immortal Emperor. With one sword, heaven and earth were destroyed and all things fell. It was as if billions of brilliant suns were blooming at the same time in the void. Originally, the world was covered by endless darkness, but at this moment, endless light bloomed, as if the sky had been shattered. Vast and resplendent immortal light poured down from the ninth heaven, dispersing all the dark light. The Origin Sword Qi and the dark blade light collided, causing the surrounding void to tremble violently. An incomparably crisp sound rang out. The dark blade in the dark quasi-immortal emperor's hand was broken by Ling Xiao's sword. Even the arm of the dark quasi-immortal emperor exploded with a loud bang. The dark quasi-immortal emperor seemed to have suffered an unbearable blow. His entire body trembled violently, and he was sent flying. Countless dark creatures on the ground were smashed into dust. What? Crown Prince Li Wuji and Second Prince Li Wushuang's eyes were filled with shock and disbelief. They looked up at Ling Xiao in the void, their eyes filled with delight. They hadn't expected Ling Xiao's battle strength to be so great that he could destroy the strongest dark quasi-immortal emperor's arm with a single sword strike. They were both dark quasi-immortal emperors, but they felt that the difference between them and Ling Xiao was like the difference between heaven and earth. Even the incomparably proud Li Wushuang couldn't help but smile wryly. He had to admit that he was inferior to Ling Xiao. Ling Xiao was indeed worthy of being the first on the Origin Heaven Dao stele, an existence who could suppress the heavens. Such a peerless genius would surely illuminate the eternal immortal domains. No one would be able to stop his light. Very well, traitor of the eternal immortal domains. It seems that this seat has underestimated you. I didn't expect you to possess such heaven-defying battle strength as soon as you became a dark quasi-immortal emperor. You must be one of the most heaven-defying geniuses in the eternal immortal domains. It's my honor to be able to kill a genius of the eternal immortal domains today. The dark quasi-immortal emperor's eyes were filled with shock, but there wasn't the slightest trace of fear in them. Instead, they were filled with a strong desire to fight. Boom! Dark light surged around the dark quasi-immortal emperor as a terrifying aura erupted from his body. It seemed to envelop the surrounding void, forming an enormous vortex of devouring. Countless dark creatures below instantly soared into the sky. They were actually swallowed and absorbed by the dark quasi-immortal emperor in the void like nourishment, causing the dark quasi-immortal emperor's aura and power to become stronger and stronger. The dark quasi-immortal emperor stood in the air. He was 30,000 meters tall and was like an incomparably powerful supreme evil demon. His body exuded an aura that could destroy everything and a fluctuation of energy that could devour everything, causing everyone's mind to tremble. The dark quasi-immortal emperor gave Ling Xiao a feeling of extreme danger. The dark quasi-immortal emperor roared. Boundless dark lightning surged above his head, forming a dark millstone that seemed capable of obliterating all life as it came crashing down on Ling Xiao. The dark millstone seemed to be formed from the essence of darkness. It contained the heavenly Tao of darkness, as well as a transcendent aura. It didn't seem to come from the dark quasi-immortal emperor at all. Ling Xiao felt an intense sense of danger. Chapter 3471. Rumble. At the same time, Ling Xiao's body emitted a dazzling light. It was as if a sun had risen between his eyebrows, emitting an endless amount of light. Even the sky-devouring sword was shining brightly, as if it could destroy everything. Ling Xiao had already obtained the inheritance of the Light Immortal Emperor. The Light Imperial Scripture had completely merged with his primordial spirit. Although he couldn't use all kinds of supreme secret techniques for the time being, there was a supreme forbidden technique that could erupt with destructive power. It was just that he had to pay a certain price. A drop of multicolored blood flew out from between Ling Xiao's eyebrows. His primordial spirit instantly became dispirited. That was the blood of his primordial spirit, and also the essence of his primordial spirit. At this moment, the drop of primordial spirit blood was instantly ignited by him. Then, it enveloped the sky-devouring sword, causing it to ignite with raging flames. Its aura was terrifying to the extreme. Ling Xiao held the sky-devouring sword in his hand and slashed down from the sky. The surrounding sky instantly formed a monstrous sea of fire, enveloping millions of miles of land. Countless sword chi rose from the sea of fire, erupting a fatal blow towards the dark quasi-immortal emperor. Sky-incinerating light Tao. This was a supreme forbidden technique created by the Light Immortal Emperor. Its power was incomparably terrifying, and it had a strong restraining effect on the dark creatures. As soon as the sky-incinerating light Dao was unleashed, the sky-devouring sword seemed to have turned into an eternal emperor weapon. The power of the eternal heavenly Dao instantly gushed out. The sword was dazzling to the extreme, and in an instant, it collided with the dark millstone. An incomparably crisp sound bloomed. The incomparably powerful dark millstone was destroyed by Ling Zhao's sword. At the same time, the sky-devouring sword's momentum did not decrease. The sword chi swept across the void and slashed towards the dark quasi-immortal emperor. What? The dark quasi-immortal emperor's face changed drastically, his eyes filled with disbelief. In an instant he ignited his darkness origin, wanting to teleport into the distance. However, the sky-devouring sword was too fast. It was like a supreme divine light that could destroy heaven and earth. In an instant, it slashed the dark quasi-immortal emperor's body, directly splitting him into two halves. The dark quasi-immortal emperor's incomparably powerful body directly exploded in the void, releasing endless dark divine light. At the same time, a blurry dark shadow flew out. It was the true spirit of the darkness quasi-immortal emperor. He looked at Ling Zhao with incomparable resentment and said coldly, "You're dead meat. His Excellency will definitely not let you off." However, it didn't run away. Instead, it pounced towards Ling Zhao. It was as if a dark storm was sweeping over from all directions. It directly turned into vast dark flames in the void and enveloped Ling Zhao, wanting to completely turn Ling Zhao into a dark creature. Ling Zhao's eyes were filled with murderous intent. The heaven-devouring sword slashed down from the sky, instantly annihilating the true spirit of the dark quasi-immortal emperor. That sixth-layer half-immortal emperor realm dark half-immortal emperor had died. How is this guy so strong? In the distance, Di Hongwan's eyes were filled with disbelief and shock. The radiant immortal sword in her hand shone with dazzling light. Sword chi swept through the void. Every slash of the sword could kill a large number of dark creatures. Although the two dark quasi-immortal emperors were extremely strong, they were currently being suppressed by Di Hongwan. It was as if they would be killed by her sword at any time. However, she had never thought that the strongest dark quasi-immortal emperor would die in Ling Zhao's hands so quickly. She immediately felt a sense of defeat. Rumble! Di Hongwan's body shone with dazzling light. She had activated the radiant sovereign physique to the extreme. Behind her, endless light bloomed. It was as if there was a peerless empress who looked down on the world and was slowly merging with her. She raised the radiant immortal sword and instantly slashed out tens of thousands of sword lights. Countless sword lights blotted out the sky and earth, actually forming an incomparably powerful and terrifying radiant destruction sword formation, instantly enveloping the two darkness quasi-immortal emperors and killing them. Clearly, this was also a forbidden technique. Di Hongwan had been forced into a corner by Ling Zhao, so she directly used the forbidden skill. The two dark quasi-immortal emperors were already at a disadvantage. Now that Di Hongwan had used such a powerful forbidden skill, they roared angrily and continuously released their darkness origin. They wanted to rush out of the sword formation, but they still failed in the end. Rumble! The two dark quasi-immortal emperors were completely shattered by the sword formation. Even their primordial spirits and true spirits were destroyed. There was no way for them to escape. "Everyone, follow me and kill these creatures of darkness." Although Crown Prince Li Wuji and Second Prince Yu Wushuang's faces were filled with shock, they seemed to have woken up from a dream and roared at the same time. Then, they led the experts of the Creation Celestial Court and charged toward the army of the dark creatures. Although the army of dark creatures seemed endless, they seemed to have lost their will to fight after the few dark quasi-immortal emperors were killed. They wanted to escape into the distance. As for Crown Prince Li Wuji and Second Prince Li Wushuang, they had long been holding their breaths. Their bellies were filled with anger and killing intent. They led many immortal kings and launched a one-sided massacre against the army of darkness creatures. Countless dark creatures were killed. This place seemed to have turned into a Jura hell, filled with monstrous killing intent. In the void, Ling Xiao's expression did not relax at all. Instead, his brows were tightly knitted together. He discovered an extremely strange phenomenon. After those creatures of darkness were killed, the darkness source actually fused into the earth. It was as if it was directly devoured by some terrifying existence, disappearing without a trace. When he thought of the lord that the dark quasi-immortal emperor had mentioned, Ling Xiao suddenly felt uneasy. What kind of terrifying existence could be called lord by a dark quasi-immortal emperor? Could it be a true dark quasi-immortal emperor? Ling Xiao, I didn't expect you to be so powerful. A dark quasi-immortal emperor of the sixth heaven of the quasi-immortal emperor realm died so easily in your hands. However, I am the princess of the Radiance Immortal Court. I can't be your maid. I can promise you one thing. No matter what it is, I can promise you. Di Hongwan secretly glanced at Ling Xiao and pouted. She knew she had lost the bet with Ling Xiao. However, she could not bring herself to be Ling Xiao's maid. Therefore, there was a hint of coquettishness and pleading in her words. Promise me anything? You said it? Ling Xiao glanced at Di Hongwan with a half-smile and then kept sizing her up. What do you want? Di Hongwan's delicate body trembled, and her face instantly turned red. She asked shyly. Her heart thumped wildly, and she could not help but let her imagination run wild. Ling Xiao's eyes were so bright and passionate. Could it be that he wants me to repay him with my body? If he really made this request, then should I agree or reject him? Di Hongwan's heart was in a mess, and her face became more and more shy. Don't worry, I'm not interested in you. However, you seem to have a powerful defensive treasure on you. Why don't you give it to me? Ling Xiao seemed to have seen through Di Hongwan's thoughts and said with a half-smile. You bastard! Di Hongwan's body trembled, and her face instantly showed a mixture of shame and anger. She wanted to pounce on Ling Xiao and bite him a few times. Chapter 3472. What do you want? Di Hongwan's heart skipped a beat. She looked at Ling Xiao warily. How about you give me the light jade pendant on your waist? Ling Xiao's eyes flashed as he looked at the dragon-shaped jade pendant on Di Hongwan's waist. The dragon-shaped jade pendant was emitting a dazzling radiance, as if it was emitting an immeasurable amount of light. It looked mysterious and unfathomable. Other than that, there was nothing special about it. However, Di Hongwan's expression changed drastically after hearing Ling Xiao's words. You want my light jade pendant? Don't even think about it. Di Hongwan gritted her teeth and said, Ling Xiao was too despicable. The light jade pendant on her waist could be said to be her most precious treasure. It was a defensive treasure left behind by the immortal emperor of the Light Immortal Court. It was extremely powerful. Not only could it defend against an immortal emperor's attack, but it could also unleash an attack comparable to an immortal emperor's attack. Ling Xiao had already taken a treasure from her. Now, he wanted to take away her only light jade pendant. Di Hongwan glared at Ling Xiao. She looked very cute. If you don't want to, then be my maid. Ling Xiao said with a smile. Ling Xiao, you bastard. Di Hongwan was furious. However, she could not really be Ling Xiao's maid. Otherwise, she would not be able to become the Light Emperor's lord in the future. Her father and brother would not forgive her. Di Hongwan had no choice but to take the jade pendant off her waist and hand it to Ling Xiao angrily. This radiant jade pendant can defend against an attack from an immortal emperor. Moreover, it can unleash an attack comparable to an immortal emperor. Don't waste it. This is our greatest defensive trump card in the Heavenly Dao Ancient Battlefield. I feel that the Heavenly Ancient Battlefield is not simple. I'm afraid something big is going to happen. Di Hongwan was afraid that Ling Xiao did not know what was good for him, so she explained. At the same time, she looked around uneasily. Although the army of darkness had retreated, for some reason, Di Hongwan felt a spine-chilling aura ripple. Don't worry. Since I asked you for this jade pendant, I naturally know its value. Ling Xiao's words infuriated Di Hongwan. Di Hongwan snorted and turned away, ignoring Ling Xiao. At the same time, the battle was nearing its end. Crown Prince Li Wuji and Second Prince Li Wushuang led many experts of the Immortal Court of Fortune to launch a one-sided massacre of the dark creatures. Countless dark creatures were killed, and the remaining dark creatures fled in all directions. Everyone from the Celestial Court of Creation was smiling after surviving a disaster. They looked at Ling Xiao and Di Hongwan with deep gratitude. They knew that if Ling Xiao and Di Hongwan hadn't arrived in time, they would have probably died today. Thank you, Senior Ling Xiao, for saving my life. Crown Prince Li Wuji bowed deeply to Ling Xiao and said solemnly, Your Highness, there's no need to be so courteous. Since I've followed you to the Heavenly Dao ancient battlefield, I'll naturally protect you. Ling Xiao said indifferently, Thank you, Senior Ling Xiao. Second Prince Li Wushuang looked a little embarrassed, but he still cupped his hands at Ling Xiao. Although he looked cold on the surface, he was envious of Crown Prince Li Wuji. He didn't expect Li Wuji to be able to recruit such a supreme expert like Ling Xiao. Even such a powerful dark quasi-immortal emperor had died in Ling Xiao's hands. In this case, he wouldn't have to fear anyone from the Truth Celestial Court. At this moment, Crown Prince Li Wuji's eyes flashed, and he said with a strange expression, Senior Ling Xiao, I received a call for help from the Truth Celestial Court and the Great Yen Celestial Court at the same time. A call for help from the Truth Celestial Court and the Great Yen Celestial Court? The Truth Celestial Court is so powerful. Did they also fall into the dark creature's army? Second Prince Li Wushuang said with a strange expression. Indeed. Ning Shukong and Yen Hongye encountered a group of powerful dark quasi-immortal emperors and an endless army of dark creatures. Crown Prince Li Wuji said slowly, Isn't that great? We can kill with a borrowed knife. If those bastards from the Truth Celestial Court die in the hands of the dark quasi-immortal emperors, we won't have to do anything. As for the Great Yen Celestial Court, although they seem to be neutral, they have a lot of conflicts with the Truth Celestial Court. We have no obligation to save them. Second Prince Li Wushuang said with a cold smile. That being said, the Truth Celestial Court and the Great Yen Celestial Court have found a place of inheritance of a supreme immortal emperor. It's very likely that there's an eternal emperor weapon in it. Ning Shukong and Yen Hongye told me that if I can save them, they're willing to let me choose a treasure in the place of inheritance first. Crown Prince Li Wuji said slowly. The place of inheritance of an immortal emperor? The Truth Celestial Court and the Great Yen Celestial Court are really lucky. Second Prince Li Wushuang said with a cold smile. However, anyone could hear that there was a trace of jealousy in his voice. After all, the place of inheritance of an immortal emperor must contain countless supreme treasures. Not to mention whether there was a complete eternal emperor weapon, just the immortal scriptures of an immortal emperor's inheritance were supreme treasures. Senior Ling Xiao, do you think we should save them? I'll listen to you. If you agree to go, the treasure in the immortal emperor's inheritance will belong to you. Crown Prince Li Wuji said respectfully to Ling Xiao. The place of inheritance of an immortal emperor? What a coincidence. Let's go and take a look. No matter what, the army of dark creatures has been mobilizing so frequently. Something big must have happened. Even if we don't save them, we still need to find out the true purpose of the army of dark creatures. Ling Zhao's eyes flashed as he said slowly. Senior, you're so thoughtful. Crown Prince Li Wuji said with a smile. Under Crown Prince Li Wuji's lead, Ling Xiao, Di Hongwan, Second Prince Li Wushuang, and many experts of the Creation Celestial Court flew toward the Truth Celestial Court and the Great Yen Celestial Court. Tens of thousands of experts of the Truth Celestial Court and the Great Yen Celestial Court were trapped in a huge desert. They also worked together to cast a powerful barrier that shrouded the void and protected many experts. At the same time, they were constantly fighting against the dark creatures. However, there were 9 extremely powerful dark quasi-immortal emperors in the void. Each of them was extremely powerful, and they emitted an unparalleled aura that locked onto Ning Shukong, Yen Hongye, and the others below. At this moment, Ning Shukong's face was a little ugly. He had many plans before. He wanted to destroy everyone in the Great Yen Celestial Court and the Creation Celestial Court, and then let the Truth Celestial Court monopolize the fruit of Tao. However, before he could start his plan, the dark creatures began to riot. They and all the experts of the Great Yen Celestial Court were trapped here. They even had to join forces to fight against the Dark Army. Ning Shukong and Yen Hongye had successfully broken through to the quasi-immortal Emperor realm and were extremely powerful. However, the 9 dark quasi-immortal emperors were even more terrifying. Ning Shukong and Yen Hongye, who had just broken through to the quasi-immortal Emperor realm, could not be compared to them at all. Therefore, they were fiercely suppressed by the dark quasi-immortal emperors. They were even surrounded by danger. You're tuning in to the Passion Pages YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.